Hey, good morning.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. What's up?
Hey, good morning. Like sales on London.
Interesting.
Es que yo lo tengo aquí en Slack.
That's what's making me money. So what I've done is I've divided it.
A ver.
So I've set the calendar spread, right? And for example, this calendar spread, I ended up using to eliminate all the extra columns I had.
Oh my God, what's going on?
Yo, can you mute yourself, please?
What's going on?
I earned about $1.50 and it cost me about $1.07. So I made $5,000 on that. So if I put that into the
Who is
and
that?
add that in, I'm actually still in front and across the board.
But that's not directional, Chris.
It's non-directional. That's just burning time.
Oh, yeah.
And because the volatility is higher the volatility, and the more time you burn.
Si quieres,
that
los comparto yo.
if it goes outside.
Oh, Conman.
Oh,
Mute
man.
It's
yourself.
a very unusual time because of volatility time.
Yeah.
You can go outside the parameters. So as I said, I bought in $5,000 on that trade, but I lost.
Conman.
Setup cost 3.5 plus 5. So 8.5.
¿Ya lo están viendo?
About 5 was down 3, and then I moved the columns up anyway. So I didn't actually cop that loss. I'm basically what I'm trying to do, just for you, because I'm trying to explain
Conman, please mute yourself.
is keep it, if you were doing that
Mute
strategy,
yourself.
no optional extras, just keep it vanilla. So you've got an idea, you know, so that's what I'm saying. If you did it that way on average, you would have done about $3,000 every week.
I don't like the structure. This looks
bad.
bad.
Now, I haven't done that because I've actually, I had a butterfly in place last week,
Mixed signals
which
here.
made me money. Actually, it made me,
Yo, this is ridiculous. What's wrong with this
made
guy?
money on the close because
Good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good.
Do you know what?
Good morning.
Ah,
Jesus Christ. Whoa, my God, my head just about to explode.
Why, what's going on?
So, I don't know, everyone was just talking at the same time. They had like 3 mics. It looked like a news conference.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm here.
Yeah, thank you.
The peace has been restored.
The peacemaker.
Thank you, Rakeel.
Let's start off the day with I had taken GJ buys about 6:30, 10 minutes ago, and this thing just flew.
perfect. Yeah, that was a nice push.
Right, look at that, Vincent. In 15 minutes was just 20 something pips. I think I'm done for the day already.
I know I am.
Yeah.
It was a nice push at 6 a.m.
At 6 a.m. and 15 minutes ago, like at 6:30,
Yes.
it just popped up.
It just rallied like fucking 20 pips.
Yeah. Ooh, you see? TP hit. Perfect.
All right, that information, Mac, it provided no value to anybody. So I'm going to do a breakdown over here.
I'm sorry.
Looking at it from a daily perspective. Okay, so first thing, it's a Friday. So, like, you know, on a Friday, you need to be really relaxed about trading if you're really going to take a trade because, you know, like you've worked so hard over the week. So, first of all, these daily candles, you see the previous one, it came down, wicked here to the left. The one after that, yesterday, daily candle also wicked right here to the left. This one also came into that vicinity, right? So maybe this is a important area that's been rejected as support. Plus also, this was a support here on 134, 134,600. which was broken below over here. So now this also becomes some sort of an important, I say like a resistance area right over here. So we're gonna go down to the small time frames and see what information we can find. So this is how I like kind of like break down the time frames for myself too. So let's take a look here. Looking at the 4 hour. So 4 hour basically it's just ranging here because we created a resistance, and we have some sort of a support forming right down over here. Oh, this is 89 pip range. Perfect. So looking at it on the 1 hour perspective, it's bouncing from this support. Now, if it closes above 134, 100, there could be an opportunity for GJ to continue up to 134, 550, right? So this was the London Open push down. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to, so this was a bigger push down. So if we measure this move, this was around 54 pips in an hour. So first thing I want to do is I want to take a look at the Forex factory here. And I'm going to see if there was any news that came overnight that pushed that down. So there's no news there, right? There's no news. There's nothing for us to see that, okay, maybe, you know, that pushed it down. So it's just like a market movement. So if that's a market movement coming down there, and if support holds at this level, then there's a higher chance price is going to come back up and, like, you know, correct this move towards 134, 500, 550. Going down to the 30-minute time frame, we do see we're coming up to a minor resistance here. So, like, you know, I would say if I'm going to look for buys, I would have to wait for price to maybe come down, create some minor support, and then continue moving up. That's what I'm going to do if I'm going to look for buys here.
Perfect.
Yeah, but for sells, break of this support would be good for sells.
Well, I was trying to break it down, but
yeah, I think before anyone says, "Oh, I took this trade, this," you should basically send an analysis, because you have to understand there are like around 1,000 people listening. They don't want to listen to, "Oh man, this trade is running so nice, blah, I took this, I took that." No, they're here to see some sort of information. They're here to see some sort of value. So it makes much better sense when you post a chart saying, "Okay, look, this is the trade I took. These are the reasons why I took this trade." Not because, oh, you know. So
yeah, I know. My bad. My
yeah, so
apologies.
so we have to keep that in mind.
My apologies. All right. I'm gonna be done for the day. So, mal guys, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. See you later. Alright, let's take a look at this here. Oh, wow, man. Sasha, you have a big screen. Huge screen. So this is GJ 30 minute. My stops just got hit. Can you tell me what could I have done differently? Okay, so I entered on the 5-hour M candle. First entry, second entry, waiting for break, 4 hours. Oh, so you had a sell. Yeah, I think once this bullish candle closed bullish, that's where you should have gotten out of the trade, because it made sense for a sell. Like, I'm not gonna lie, right? Like, you had this breakdown and this candle, you know, so you would have expected this candle to continue moving down to the support. But I guess, like, once it closed weak bearish, the probability of it going down maybe decreased, because when you have candles with big body candles mean like big volume, you know. Like, if you have a big body candle, there's a high probability that the price is going to continue going in that way because there's a lot of volume. But once this candle closed like a small body, then the chances of price going in that direction, they become less and less, right? So when this candle went up, this is where you should have exited the trade. So looking at this candle in more detail on the 15-minute time frame, maybe once, so you entered over here, and once this 15-minute candle closed bullish, this could have been an indication that, okay, maybe price is not going to go down. You know, maybe that support is going to get respected. So maybe I want to close the trade at like a lower loss rather than let the trade hit stop loss. So, you know, it's just a probability of things not working out, but you being proactive to see that, okay, what was there that I could have seen that would have made me close my trade before it hit stop loss. Like little, like small tweaks, you know. Small tweaks we learn as we look at the charts over and over. Oh, it's the same chart. Your JPY. Looking for sells only after close below the zone. Makes sense. You know what? If I had to draw zones, this would be the exact way I draw them. Waiting for a break here to go down or a break up to go up. Look here. If it breaks mini resistance, I think it's clear traffic to go up to big resistance. Yeah, I think so too. Just gonna wait for price to do some retracements. Or if it goes, you know, it goes, then basically miss the trade.
Yeah.
It's clean traffic till 134.5. Is it important to focus on one pair like GJ to master this type of trading? Yes. It's important to just focus on one or two pairs, and you're going to see a lot of success. See, I only focus on GJ, that's it. Gold I used to focus on, but spreads are too big, so it costs me more to trade gold. So I'm not going to pay more to trade gold when I can just pay less to trade GJ. Why don't you use the volume indicator? Because I don't know what that is. Hey, good morning, Alex. Wow, man, that PDF we had up for sale, it has raised $500 so far. It's crazy.
No way.
Yeah.
Great content in that PDA, man.
Damn.
Yo, there'll be a lot more later. Morning.
Great, good morning, good morning.
I did a little call out this morning for it, so I've raised some funds this morning that I'm going to buy a load this afternoon. So people supported it, they donated to the channel, so I'm going to use that money to buy a few in a little while. When is it going to stop? It's in a little while, right?
Yeah, it's going to stop at like New York close.
Okay, I'm going to do that in a little while then. Yeah, so basically all the people that invested this morning, I'm going to go and buy it for everyone.
Oh, thank you.
Pretty cool, man. It's nice. It's a good cause, dude.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, like, whatever the total raised is, I'm going to match it. And then I decided, so I was in the washroom and I decided that we're just going to use that money to buy a bunch of food.
Yep.
And, like, take it to like a shelter or food bank and record it for everybody so they can see where it's going. It feels good.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to do that's all right. So I think something that's cool. Yes, good thing to do, man.
It's Friday. Don't you see resistance at 134.335? 134.33. Yeah, I mean that's a zone, so that's why I'm waiting for price to kind of like make a support. If it makes a support, I think that mini resistance is going to get broken and price is going to continue moving up. So, you know, can't buy right now because, I mean, gotta wait for support to be formed. Resistance. Yeah, so I think either you should have this green line or you should have this purple line here. Just choose one. I'd probably choose this one. But realistically, yeah, this one here. So this whole zone, it's kind of like could be like a rejection zone. It's a big fat zone over here. What do you think about oil? I have no idea. People are buying oil and oil is dropping. I don't know what's going on with oil. Let's take a look here. Because like, you know, they signed deals to cut production, price still drops. But at the same time, I think to be fair, when they signed the deal to cut production, it's not like it's going to take effect immediately. You know, like the market gapped up reacting to that, but it didn't really move up. Let's take a look here. 18. This is probably going to go down to like 16, 15. You know, 16 or 15. It's going to go down more. Look at this weekly just dropping.
Damn.
From $50 support to now down to 18.
Wow.
Okay, everyone's asking me about the PDF thing. So this PDF is basically overtrading. You know, like how 3 simple rules to not overtrade. This is the PDF.
Rakeel, you got a comma where the decimal is supposed to be.
Wait. Oh yeah, yeah, because European. Yeah, 130.
European.
Yeah.
Hello?
No, that's it.
Oh.
Roger, where do I get the ebook from, buddy?
Where'd you get the ebook from?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll post the link. I'll post the link in the chat.
Thanks, bud.
See, what a rejection. That whole area is a rejection area. I think the only reason we come on Friday is just to force people to not trade. Not a single chart has come through. Oh, there we go. USD CAD sell. All right, what's this? Ooh, USD CAD. Elliott wave plus fib analysis. All right, take a look here. Potential entry if you break below this point. Yeah, makes sense. I guess it's going to go to the C over here, the 100% fib retracement from 1.41 down to 1.39. So for this to happen, CAD has to get really, really strong against the dollar. So let's see if that happens. What's this? Potential retest. Strong daily support. Waiting for bearish candle to form to sell. Ideal sell if the support breaks. Yes. I think that's going to be a good opportunity. So let's just wait and see what happens. All right, let's take a look at this chart here. EJ longs, fresh support, three white soldiers. If breaks that resistance, price might go to the next support. I think you meant resistance here, TP1. Yeah, that could work too, but at the same time, I think the only thing that's concerning me is this candle that closed with no wick at the top. Because when a candle closes with no wick on the top, that basically means there's no range for the next candle to go up. So I generally don't execute on those candles. That's just how I trade, you know. So if you think it can go up, you have your risk managed. So I think it's good. I think you can also lower your risk down to 30-minute low here too. How many hours of footage does the multi-fluidity course has? Well, we went to the Saharas and Serengeti in Africa, and we started recording a lot of footage. So we have a lot of footage there of how, like, you know, things move and how the wildlife is. So there's a lot of footage based on that. I mean, what kind of question is that, man? How many hours of footage does the multi-fluidity course have? As if we went to the moon. Wow.
I gotta get on YouTube and read this stuff. I swear.
Exactly 1 hour of footage. I have a question. What is the read on a candle that has no wick at the top and no wick at the bottom? See now, when you have candles that are basically kind of like, let's say you have a candle that's kind of like this, right? Or actually, a better example is this candle right over here. This candle has no wick on the top. When candles have wicks on the top, this means that there's a range. You know, let's say if this is a bearish candle and has a wick at the bottom, this means that the next candle has the potential to come down and fill that range. You know, but if you look at it on the smaller time frame, what you're going to see is that now this is a very simple concept, but it's very hard to understand. So I think if you can understand this in one go, that's going to be awesome. If not, then I guess it's going to take time. So if you have this situation here, right? You had this wick to fill, candle filled the wick. If you look at it from a small time frame is going to look like this. Candle came down, created some sort of a support, went up and closed at this point. The next candle here then started to go up and then started to come down. It looked left. There was clean traffic down to the support. So candles came down to retest that support, and on the higher time frame, you'll see that this was a wick fill. Okay, perfect. Now, if you have a candle with no wick at the bottom, right? This basically means that price went up, did whatever it had to do, came down, and just closed right over here. Now, when the next candle starts, next candle is starting at a support now. You know, when a candle closed with no wick, now the next candle is starting at a support. So if the next candle starts at support, there's less probability that it's going to break support and go down, but there's a higher probability that it might respect the support, and then you might see that the next candle may kind of like, you know, kind of like it forms like this, like this. You know, so there's a 50-50 chance, like there's a 50-50 probability if a candle closes with no wick that the next one is going to either go up or it's going to go down. So when I look for the trades based on when candles close with no wicks, I stay away from it because I don't want a 50-50 chance to win. I want a higher chance to win. Hope that makes sense. Ooh, looks like if it crosses this level, it's gonna head off to 134.550.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we were looking at this earlier. If you look at the 4 hour, it's been doing a similar thing all week. It's pretty similar. It's all at the same time.
Yeah, 4 hours just ranging here. Wouldn't be surprised if price just ranges on Friday.
It's exactly, it's Friday.
Man, PayPal makes a lot of money. I'm just looking at my transactions. From $1.30, PayPal takes 35 cents.
No trust, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got it sorted. They know what they're doing.
PayPal got it sorted, exactly.
Big time. Yeah. Yeah, so I think on, I can't remember what it was. So it was about £1 on every 10, I think. Roughly, something similar to that.
Would you have taken that buy after the first bullish candle on the 15-minute support? No, I wouldn't have, because you know there was a lot of confusion here to the left. The 30-minute hadn't closed, so I would have been, I wouldn't have taken a buy.
Yeah, and 15-minute is a week's confirmation.
Yeah.
So
I think when you're trying to execute a trade, you have to be very, very specific on what you want. Oh, you meant the 30. Yeah, no. So it closed with no wick at the top. Oh, looks like it's pushing. Man, one thing I can really thank myself for is that now I have zero FOMO. I don't get FOMO at all.
it's very nice.
Very nice, very nice. Sounds good.
Wow.
How do you want to enter now under the zone? I don't want to enter now. Yeah, I don't want to enter now. I want to see a support formed so that I know I can have a stop loss below that support and then take a trade. So I'm not entering anything right now.
Hey Raja.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, Raja? I have a question. Is there gonna be a simulation this weekend?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
always good to have refreshers.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it too. And I really enjoy doing them too.
Yo, last one was lit.
Oh, when we went full margin in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we're gonna risk all the profits, and boom, take profit.
Yeah. Let's risk everything here, boys. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Can you explain the same candles again? No. What do you mean? You can just watch the recap. That information I gave you about the candles with no wicks, man, that's some crazy information. So you have to rewatch the recap. Well, I guess we were correct. It's gonna continue moving here. Now it's coming into the territory of clean candles.
Daily wants to go bullish.
You know, to be honest, I haven't really, like, this move down. It didn't really. I still don't believe daily is like bearish. I still think we're gonna come up to 136,500.
Yeah, I think you can see it on the weekly, probably a little bit better, but
Really wanted this weekly to flip bullish, but I guess it's not gonna happen today.
you never know.
Yeah,
We talked about this Tuesday, right?
you never know with
And
TJ.
then that candle came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Is that what you are waiting for, Raja? Let's take a look. Waiting for support to be formed, ideally 30 minutes later to retrace. Yeah, I basically want a support to be formed. And then I might take a buy because it's a Friday and I'm generally not in a mood to go full tilt on Friday. So I'm going to be very cautious. You know, if it goes here, I mean, like my target is 134, 550, 134, 600, even 500. So if it crosses that, then it's coming into an area where there's a lot of consolidation here to the left and over here, a lot of mess over here. So if you compare this clean move to this mess, you're going to see that this clean move, when price comes into this area, these are much easier trades to take rather than taking trades up over here because there's a lot of consolidation. Are you going to play Warzone? Oh, we play Warzone competitively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People on YouTube, they don't know this, but we play competitively. Monty's our squad leader, Ted is our commander. All these old guys, man, they lead us.
I'll be there soon. I'll be there.
These experienced people.
Yeah, I'm down for a bit later on.
How has Corona affected you in any way? Well, the number one way Corona has really affected things for me personally is shipping. That's it. Shipping is a big problem. It's taking way much longer than expected. Like if shipping takes, let's say, 5 days for it to go in the US, now it's taking almost 2 weeks. So yeah.
I think the virus stays alive 6 weeks. So it's not a bad thing. Store it in your house for an extra 4 and then you can strip it out.
Yeah. Strip it out. Raja, why did you take the buy on the last candle? Well, the number one reason why I didn't take a buy in the last candle was because there was resistance here, right? And this is the mistake I made yesterday. Where was it yesterday? Yesterday was...
day before, man.
Yeah, right here.
It was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, right here. So I took a buy over here, and I didn't account for this resistance, and the price is going to go up, but it stopped me out, and I got stuck in this range, and later it dropped. So it was the same scenario here. That's why I didn't take the buy. You know, gotta be cautious.
Suspicious.
Yeah, it was so suspicious. Look at this trade here. Port form, wait for hourly to close bullish. Could have had a stop loss here to break even at. Oh, nice. Yeah, so since this move happened, if we break down how could we have caught this move, there was no confirmation that tells me that we could have caught this move, keeping in mind this range here. take a look at this chart here. What's this? USD CAD, 15 minute. Sell entry. Oh, nice. Now it's time to move here. Perfect. Could you please explain how and when would you consider to close the losing trade before it hits stop loss? Well, that's for you to look at your losers, and you need to identify what was there that you could see that would have made you close your trade. Alright, let's take a look at this chart here. PayPal has 300 million members. Oh. Okay, what's this? GJ 4 hour. Waiting for this moment. Support farm. Weekly support broke in London. Okay, this was 4 hour support. Open London push down. Yep. So you're looking for price to go up to come down. So you have to go to the small time frames and see what's going on. So you're basically waiting for price to come up over here, do some sort of make some sort of a resistance and then go down. So I think if you drop down to the lower time frames, you're going to see that this support before this resistance is reached, there's another level of resistance which is over here. USD CAD. Why didn't it go all the way down based on candles to the left? Well, sometimes market does what's best for everybody. You know, so I mean, it made sense for this candle to continue down, but it closed bearish. So if you were in sells, if you saw this closing bearish, I'm pretty sure on the 1 hour chart it was creating some sort of support, and then you could have said, oh well, I guess it's not going to go down. So sometimes, you know, market does things which we can't explain. You know, they're unexplainable things, but you have to understand whatever the market does, it's for the best for everybody. You know, like market is always right. You can't fight it, just gotta accept it. So if you do some more investigation on the 4 hour there, oh, I don't even, maybe it was this one here. We go to 1 hour, yeah. So you start to consolidate, and then candles slowly start to push up. So instead of looking at just the 4 hour, I think it's going to help you a lot if you go down to the smaller time frames and start looking at, okay, what was really happening there, and you'll get your answer. Let's take a look here. Oh, GPNGD, waiting for candle to create resistance. Yep, looks good. You're waiting for a sell here, so makes sense. How much is your average return each month in percentage? Last month was incredible. It was around like 100 and like 115%, something like that, in March. That was only because of gold. Because gold was moving incredible in March. I mean, you aim for like 10, 15 pips on gold. Gold was moving 40, 50 pips, 60 pips, easy, no problem at all. Like a couple times I caught 100 pip moves on gold on like a 5 lot, 6 lot, so that really pushes things further. But this month has been pretty slow because the volume hasn't been in this month as it was last month. So I think like volume in the market, it's directly proportional to your gains, because the more the volume there is, the bigger moves you're going to catch, right? If there's less volume, then you're catching like the average size move.
Or your losses, Roger.
What's that?
The volume is directly proportional to the losses or the wins.
Yep, exactly. Losses and the wins. Am I putting in the link correctly? Yes. Congratulations. You're ahead of the curve. Oh, what's this? GPAUD? Bearish exhaustion? 30-minute support formed. 30-minute support formed over here, where your arrow is marked. It hasn't formed over here. This candle has to close bullish for you to say that the support hasn't formed. And then that would make sense. And then again, you'll have to really... your TP is really aggressive, I don't think you're keeping in mind that there's a resistance over here, and well, you put this in mind, so that's good. There's not another one right over here, so there's different levels.
Yeah, nice.
Can you assume a bearish bias on GJ? Yeah, I think a bearish bias on GJ would play out if we break below 133.885. Because if you go to the 4-hour, and if you look at that information, you see that below that 4-hour support, you have clean movement down to 133.200, let's say. It's going to be better if price comes down here, but needs to break below 133.900. Oh, let's take a look at the Chinese indicator. The Chinese indicator is saying that everything is even, which means everything is ranging. That's what the Chinese indicator says. Is the Chinese indicator reliable? Well, I think it's more reliable if you look at the Chinese indicator, and then if you look at where the price action is, I think it's reliable in that way. If the price action makes sense, and if you can like confluence it with the Chinese indicator, then you can say, oh yeah, well, it makes sense. Just like here, if we look at GPCAD, if it breaks above this resistance here, there's a higher chance it's going to continue up to the next area, 1.75800, which is 37 pips away. That's a lot of pips. Wow, looks like GJ is going to continue up over here. Do you use stop losses on your trade, or do you use mental stops? I use stop losses on my trade. I used to use mental stops, but that wasn't really helping at all. People are talking about GJ. Yes. So if you're looking at the small time frames, if the next 5 minute breaks the high, then it's going to continue going up to 134.5. I'm not taking a trade. I'm just, watching and anticipating. It's much better if you just watch and anticipate, because the more you watch and anticipate, what's going to happen is over time you're going to understand that, okay, like, I've seen this happen over and over again. I've anticipated it. It worked. And now I guess I'm going to execute on it. And then if you win, you're going to be like, oh, perfect. Price did exactly what I had hoped for. Is it worth entering a GG trade now? Wow, man, people are so retarded. I mean, why? I mean, if you send a chart, that's going to help you. Look, and people just come here just ask for signals. Can I enter a trade now? If you enter a trade now, where's the stop loss? Where's that information? Where's the stop loss information? Because I know what's going to happen. Someone's going to take a buy, and they're like, okay, that's going to go up. It's going to go up. What if it starts to tank? You don't know where your stop loss is. You don't know where you're going to exit. You don't know where your take profit is. All you know, it's going to go up. Once it goes into profit, you start saying that, oh, it's going to keep on going. It's going to keep on going because of this. And then it starts to come down, and people just don't want to learn. It's just so stupid. I mean, you come on over here and you're like asking questions like, oh, can I buy now? Sure, go ahead. Go buy gold or USD ZAR. That's even better. It moves a lot. Just, and so sad, Notice your stops are hardly over 15 pips on occasion. You can take trades. Yeah, I don't take trades bigger than 15 pip stops because I don't want my stops to be bigger than, I think, a 15, maximum 20 pips. See, now the 15-minute candle has closed bearish here. The ideal scenario for buys would be if the next one closes bearish, and then we have a bullish candle, and then we can take a buy going up. That's going to be the ideal scenario for me to take a trade. So see, now I've already mapped out what I want to do in my mind. It's already mapped out. Yes, this is a support level here. Price comes down here. This is a 24, 25 pip range. It's going to be a good trade. Because essentially what price did here was, it basically created a high in this new range. Now if it creates a support, there's a very high chance it will go up, retest the high, and if there's more momentum, it's going to continue going up. But if it breaks below the support, then it's going to probably come down. So we'll have to wait and see how the cookie crumbles. What's this? If closed bullish, possible buy with confirmation. Yep, I think if you look on the 30-minute, you see some more information too. And you can have a stop below this kind of green traffic here to next resistance. Wick fill makes sense. 1 hour inside bar. Okay, price breaks to support, possible refill. If price breaks to support, I think your first target is going to be over here, and then this refill. Yep, yeah, that's going to make sense. First that target, and then the refill. All right, all right, all right. How to mark support and resistance, which time frame is good to mark? All the time frames are good. You start from the daily, you go to the 4 hour, you neaten it up on the 4 hour, you go to the 1 hour, you neaten it up on the 1 hour, and so on and so forth. Would it still be a valid buy if we push down to retest the previous low at 240? Yeah, I mean you can't really take a sell because now it's in this area here. You can't really take a buy because candles are going bearish. So still a lot of waiting. Trading is all about waiting. Like you're just sitting there waiting and watching. People think that once you're looking at the charts, you need to be in a trade. You don't need to be in a trade. You just need to just wait.
Just relax.
Yeah. Can you help me review this EJ buy idea, sir? Many thanks. Many welcomes for you. Let's take a look. Your JPY. Waiting for this minor resistance to hold this minor support. Okay. To make similar retest. Yeah, makes sense. So you're waiting for it to kind of do like a rejection here to go up. That's kind of what I'm hoping for GJ to do here too. Like I wanted to create some sort of support that will support my idea of taking a buy. But if we start closing below this area, then I start to look for sells going down to 133.900. But I gotta wait for this 30-minute candle to close to see how it closes.
It will close.
Yeah, because we have New York open in 30 minutes, so that's gonna provide some volume too. So it's better to just wait. Why is GJ ranging on the high time frame? Well, let me call the market makers and let me ask them. Let me ask them, why are you ranging? But honestly, it doesn't really matter why it's ranging. It's just ranging. Our job is to identify when prices range. Yeah, this is an important area here. This area. If the 1 hour closes below this area, then there's an opportunity for price to continue down to retest this low. But if we close above this area on the small time frames, then there's an opportunity to go up. So you just gotta wait to see how this 1 hour candle closes, because there's 20 minutes left and we don't know whether this 1 hour candle is gonna close below this area or it's gonna close above this area. Do you look at moving averages? No, I look at moving candles. GPAUD. Break this bearish exhaustion, 4-minute support form, 30-minute bullish engulfing. Yeah, I think a better buy is going to be above this resistance. I mean, it's a Friday too, it's a Friday. I mean, if this was Tuesday or Wednesday, I'd say, yeah, it's worth the risk because, there's volume. But it's Friday, it's just very hard. So you'll have to maybe wait for it to break this resistance to have clean candles to the left. There's a simulation, yes, on Saturday.
Yeah, I enjoy those too. Simulations.
Raja, I've blown accounts in the past, but been on demo now for nearly 2 months. I get constant wins on demo, but when you say is a good time to go back to live account, I think you can go back to the live account. You can go back to the live account, but then you have to take 1 or 2 trades a day. That's it, 1 or 2 trades a day. Do you do Asian session streams? No, there's this guy called Paul, Trading with Paul. He does Asian session streams. What do you think about Astro? I think they are a good company. That's all I need to say. What makes you execute a trade between 15-minute and 30-minute time frame? Well, I would want to see a 30-minute candle form closing above that area. That would tell me that, okay, we're now respecting the support to maybe continue going up. But if this 30-minute candle closes below this area, then your 1 hour is closing below, so there's room for price to drop, you know. So you have to be very careful. Yeah, just kind of waiting.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes. Please help. Okay. Let's help. These are the funny comments I get. Please help. Your USD. Waiting for support to form to take buys. Excellent idea. Perfect. That's kind of what I'm waiting for here in GJ2. Kind of like waiting to see if they form a support around this area to go up, or do we close below to go down. I think it's always better to, like when you're marking up charts, it's always better to mark both buys and sells. You know, because if you've marked buys and you're waiting for buys to happen, then if price starts to go the opposite way, then you're all confused. You're like, oh man, I don't know what's going on. But if you've already marked your sells also, like, okay, like let's say for example that I'm gonna only look for buys, you know. So I'm like, okay, price needs to close above 134,300 so we can take buys up to 134,500 and beyond. But at the same time, if I also have sells marked, it's not important I'm going to take the sells. The sells are marked in case that, okay, if price starts to go down, I know exactly why it's going down. Because you need to know that. You need to know exactly why something is happening so you're not confused. Are you going to fast during Ramadan? Yes. Man, fasting season is upon us.
The real Hunger Games.
The Hunger Games, yeah. The Hunger Games begin. Is there a good knowledge page about Telegram bots? I think you can Google that question. If this 30-minute on GJ closed bearish on support, would you wait for the next one to go over that bearish to take a buy? Well, I think that question can also be answered by looking at the 1 hour too. We need to see where 1 hour closes. So we still got time. I'm also keeping an eye on GPCAD as well, so just waiting. Oh, what's this? Price broke out of the support. Okay. Initially I was looking for sells to retest this low. Okay. However, I'm seeing the potential for this bullish candle to close within the range. Would this be a good buy point to stop us below the 30-minute candle target up this range? Yeah. Yeah, I mean you could make it, because then it becomes a fake out, right? If this candle closes above this support, then this move down becomes a fake out. So you could possibly have a stop below this 30-minute candle, because now if price couldn't maintain its move down, it has to maintain its move up. So there's a high probability it's going to continue going up to that resistance there or this resistance someone marked over here. But you'll also have to keep in mind that if candles do decide to go down, and once this low is broken, then it's going to come down to retest this low. It's a little perspective. Do you label your zones based on time frame? Yeah. How do you keep an eyes on this chat, on the chart, and other stuff all at once? It seems like you're talking about it all without breath breaking. Yeah, because this GJ chart, it's this GJ chart. I'm watching the GJ chart, you know, Raja, and then Rakeel is here next to me. He's watching the chats. He's watching the chats and he's telling me, and I'm like kind of answering at the same time. Because Rakeel, he can't analyze, you know, he can't trade. He makes the presentations and all that good stuff, you know, and I got to take over. Would you say that 20% a month is not realistic as Warren Buffett averages 20% a year? Well, Warren Buffett is different. Warren Buffett has billions. So there's not enough, I would say, there's not enough leverage provided to him to be able to make 20% a month. So that's going to be a lot of money. So there's no leverage there. And it's also regulated too. And he's an accredited investor too. When you're coming towards retail trading, you are non-accredited investors. That's what you are. We're all non-accredited investors. We're not licensed to trade. We just want to put our money up and just try to see if we can make money off it. That's it. You know, so you can make 20% a month in trading. It's really easy because like the way to do it is you map out, okay, 20% a month. Okay, let's take a look at this over here. So this is the new 15-minute candle forming here. If this 15-minute candle breaks the high of this previous one, this is going to be an opportunity for price to continue going up. So you have to wait. Buy stops at 134, 450, 450. Yeah, that could work. That could also work, but then your stop is going to be down over here, you know, 13, 14 pips. If this 15-minute breaks the high of the previous 15-minute, then your stops are going to be, you know, less, and your targets are going to be bigger, you know, bigger and better targets. GP CAD is also closing above. That's pretty good because if it does, we're going up to the sky. Wicks don't lie. Is your mentor Austin Sewer FX? No. No, he's not.
I just seen that in the chat, in the other chat.
Are you sure?
My mentor was Ted.
Oh, I think Monty posted that.
Oh.
Yeah, my bad.
See, we broke the high over here now. Now the probability of price heading up becomes higher and higher. Oh, look, it's pushing now. I'm sorry, but my mentors are not people who hide their lot sizes and who just do some shady stuff. Those people are not my mentors. See, once this high is broken, probability of it going up becomes higher. Now we're coming up to 134,450. If that high gets broken, then we're continuing moving up. So see, this is where we didn't wait for the candle to close because the smaller time frame is providing that information. So if this 15-minute closes bullish and you're still in the trade, then it would be a good opportunity to stay in the trade for the price to continue going up. But your stop is going to be right down over here. Aggressive stop, I think it's going to be at 134,300. Conservative stop is going to be at 134,250. So 14 pip stop, almost like a one-to-one gain. And if there's volume in New York Open, you probably can get a bigger gain up to this area, I guess. What should I do now? I just blow my account. When should I know I am able to back for live trading again? I think you need to focus on if you over traded or if you over risked, and that's going to give you some more information.
Yeah, focus on the risk management part first until you get that under control. Because no matter what you do, you're still going to blow it. Because even you could over trade, but once your risk is under control, you're good.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything bad about Austin Silver FX, but the one thing that I don't understand is that when someone says, oh, I did 1% or 2%, 1 or 2% of what? Of what? How do we know? So, you know, like as you become good in trading, I'll tell you this happens. This happens a lot. This happened to me too. As you become good in trading, this means that you're analyzing charts, you're breaking charts down, you're looking for clues. You become like an investigator on the charts. And that helps you investigate life. You know, like when you look for little details in charts and you look for little gaps of why your trades can't work out, you start looking at other people with the same perspective. You start looking at them like more analytically of things they've done, things they're doing, why, how, does this make sense? You know, so I think that's what happened over time. Like I started looking at everybody with more details. GJ buy defend only if lower time frame closes above. Yep, that could happen too. Alright, what's this chart? Your USD 15-minute closes above support, bullish candle form to validate the support level to go up. Yeah, makes sense. I honestly don't like Euro USD. I hate that pair. But this makes sense. Do we wait for the 15-minute candle to close bullish before entering a buy now? Oh my god, man. Monty, I broke it down, right?
I heard it.
Yeah, you heard it, right?
Heard it clear than day.
And if you missed, you missed.
Yeah, my bad. I was busy, but I even heard it and I was busy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just doing some emails, but I did hear you discuss it.
I gave the whole idea, man.
Yeah.
You can enter over here, aggressive stop over here.
3 signals, man. You just gotta listen. Write it down.
Exactly.
I'm sure people...
Pen and paper, man. Listen up, write it down.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it just comes down to how willing you are to put up the risk. That's it.
Yeah, I was willing to put up the risk at 0.245. Down here.
Do you consider 5 trades a day as overtrading? Yes.
Hey, Rakeel. Good afternoon, guys.
Hey, good afternoon.
Fancy seeing you here.
What up, T?
Wow. I think we spoke already today, right?
Ooh, look at that. Now you should be up 10 pips from that break of the high of the 15-minute candle.
Yeah.
See, this was a great example of when you don't have to wait for candles to close. And people asking, no, I'm not in this trade because I chose not to trade on a Friday. You recommend GJ to European Open? I recommend GJ to European. What? I don't think that's a valid question.
Does he mean, do you recommend trading GJ at European Open? It might mean that. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I'd say yes, 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what the question. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, today's move happened at literally the move down happened at the European Open.
Yeah, you get some good pre-London moves, which is then.
All right.
5 minute create a nice support on that GJ trade.
Yeah. Resistance created. If it closes bearish, good to place to enter. If it closes bearish, good place to enter. Enter what? Buy? Sell? I don't know. I think if you're entering sells, this is in a range. Like you have support and then you have resistance here. Hey Raja, I got the PDF. I was wondering what to do when you have one loss and one win. Well, that's up to you. What do you want to do? If you are break even for the day after 2 trades, do you want to risk another trade to risk a loss, or do you want to risk another trade to maybe risk a win? That all depends on how you see things. Please share your thoughts on gold. Potential bottom in close above previous similar to GJ, but equities may push gold lower. Interesting. Let's take a look here. Yeah, so gold is at a support. You know, gold's at a support here. I mean, gold is also making a low. It's very difficult to trade. I mean, if you're looking at it, I mean, just seems like it may create a support over here and then start pushing up.
Yeah, and it's Friday.
Yeah, and it's Friday. You know, so alright. See, we went up to almost like, you know what I've noticed? I've noticed that GJ, like normal price, will I think 80% of the time it's going to give you an opportunity to secure 10 to 12 pips. That's what I've noticed. I don't know about anyone else, but that's what I've.
Yeah, I noticed it too.
Like, you know, from this high, it went up to like, you know, like 10, 12 pips, and it's retracing all the way down. New York Open is about to open right now, so I don't know if that New York Open starts pushing it up. Awesome. But if you break this low, then, you know, then these buys are invalid. Is gold sell? Question mark. I don't know. I got on late. How do we get the PDF? Well, I guess if your eyes are closed, you can't really read the screen over here. But if your eyes are open, you'd be able to read the screen. But I don't understand, man. I just don't understand how. That's crazy. I don't know if I should be scared about the future of the world or what's going on, but man,
we got problems. I think we got problems in the future.
Problem? It's a catastrophe, man. People can't read the screen. Bro, it's on the screen.
Catastrophes.
Holy shit.
I blame 5G.
It's maybe people staying home all day is affecting them. I just don't know. Honestly, I try to be nice all day. You know, I try to be so nice, but I just don't know. Yeah, you know, like if you can't analyze that simple information, which is here on the screen, you're not going to be able to analyze candles. That's fact. That's facts. What can we do when pullback occurs? Okay, let me give you an example. So let's say I entered over here. You know, entered over here, price went up to 10 pips, and you would hear me say, okay, well, got 10 pips, going to secure, stop set, break even. And when the pullback happens, it stops me out, and that's my trade. You know, that's one way to do it. Second way to do it is if you entered over here, price went up to 10, 12 pips, and you secured some positions and you didn't put stops at break even and you placed stops down over here. You know, you're like, okay, well, you know, I expect the New York Open to continue price up. So you're basically now you're going to say, okay, I'm going to secure some profits up here, but I'm going to leave the stop down over here in the anticipation it's going to go up. So now what's going to happen is if price starts to come down and hits your stop loss, you're going to lose less on what you would have originally lost, you know, so that's trade management. How do we do taxes? Is it complicated? Yes, that's why the world has accountants to help us. Is it a good idea to get in now at the candle close? Well, I think it's I think if you can manage your risk, I mean your stop loss is going to be around 10-12 pips, and you're anticipating price to continue going up. Yeah, I think it could work out. But I'm not going to take this trade even if I had to because I'm not 100% sure. The only thing that makes sense here for buys is that we close above this area. This 15-minute candle closed with no wick at the bottom, which means it didn't even go down even remotely. So now this current 15-minute candle should continue moving bullish, but it has to respect the low of the previous 15-minute candle. I think GPCAD is in the same position here. So on GPCAD, this was the breakout candle right here, this one. So now if you want this current candle to move bullish, it needs to stay above the low of the previous 30-minute candle. Which is going to be, let's see here, this stop loss is going to be around 17 pips. Now the pip value in GPCAD is much lower than GJ. And then you're aiming for around 28, 30, yeah, 25, 30 pips.
Yeah, the other thing too is, Raja, if you look on the, I guess even the daily and the 4-hour charts, we were in a zone on the with GJ from essentially, I would say 134 300 to 132 680, around there, and we're starting to leave that. So I mean, if people are looking for opportunities, you can probably get one either in this hour candle or the next hour candle, because we should break up to 134 800 effectively. It's just I was waiting. I saw the same thing. I was just waiting for us to leave the zone that I had marked up 100%. This is the first candle that's actually closed. The wick is above my previous zone at 134 300. So now that we're above that, I think it's safe if it starts to leave, but I want to see how this hour candle works out. So it does make sense for buys, and the daily's been holding support at this level as well.
I'm not looking at the screen tab, but where did you mark your 300 level from? What time frame is that based off?
That's based basically on the daily. There's a wick to the left, the daily wick to the left back in March 8th, I guess, around there. That huge drop, there was a huge candle.
Oh, okay, yes, I see what you're saying.
Right,
Yep,
so
yes.
yeah, Raja's got it up right now. So the idea here is, my thought process was this, is if we stay out of this area here, we should be good, because this massive rejection, this is what's creating the headache, is this massive rejection here and this rejection over here. So when you're looking at trading, the problem becomes is now we trade daily within that range, right? So this is where people are getting trapped because it keeps going up and down. And it's the same thing here where people are saying it's a sell. It's not technically a sell because of the fact that we're just popping back into these areas here. And now as this candle starts to leave, we want to make sure that we break above this high over here, and then that sets us up. But then you can see to the left you have those targets, which would be these larger candles here, right? And that's what you're looking for this candle to basically pop up into that area, which looking left would fill that clean area there, but we still have to break above that resistance level. That's sort of the bigger issue right now. So that's why GJ is very difficult to trade. But if you stick with the bias, it should help you out a bit, in the sense that we should get something.
You just got to time it. I think that's been the key this week, because it's ranged really tough. I think this last 2 weeks actually.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the thing with GJ, is when it does this consolidation, you're looking for the breakout. I mean, you're going to get a nice clean candle up. It's very difficult right now with the way the candles are formed, because of the fact that the daily is still in that zone there. That's the issue. So if you were to take this area here, so if we just block off this area here as an example, right, and we say to ourselves, okay, we'll go back here and we'll say once again, this is our zone, right? So this is our zone. We know that we're in that zone. Ideally, what we would be looking for is we would look for another daily candle that would go out of that zone, right? Similar to what we have on, like Raja was saying, on the smaller time frame. The hour candle now has started to leave that zone. So now when you start trading, it's okay, what's my confirmation? Like, what do I want to be sure of? I want to know that we're leaving this zone, but what time frame am I comfortable with that zone breaking out of it? So is it your 1 hour? Is it a 4 hour? That's something that you have to determine as a trader. Right now, scalping it, the hour chart is starting to move away from it, but that might not be enough confirmation in the overall movement to say that we're going up. And that's where, here, when we go back and we look at our higher time frames, the idea once again for me is I want to see the next daily candle say start over here and then start to push, right? Because then we know that this bottom wick has now officially left this area, and then we have stronger confirmation because now we're working off the daily time frame at that point. So it's just something to keep in mind. It doesn't mean that you can't trade and take a buy. It's what's your level of comfort, and only you can decide what your level of comfort is. No one else can do that. No one else can say, oh, well, like, what should we do here? What should we do there? It's up to you to determine that, right?
Yeah, 100%. No, looking at very similar. I'll look at similar stuff. No, it's nice to see. Nice to see. It's just how it's kind of ranged on that 4 hour, which caused me, well, for entries, I mean, because the last 2 weeks it's been pretty tough, I think.
Yeah.
Just until you get that break.
And that's the tough part, because you're on a smaller time frame and you're like, okay, we're gonna leave. Like, the idea is correct, right? So the idea is correct, but when you're on like the hour, the 15-minute time frame, it could still bounce around there, but it's not gonna bounce deep into that zone anymore, because you can start seeing the rejection on the higher time frame. But then it comes down to like, well, where do I place my stops, right? And that's Raja's marking it up right now to say that once we leave this area we should be good, but it could technically return to that area any time today because the daily candle isn't strong.
That's right. Yeah.
And
that's
that's
why I found it
the
pretty
problem.
hard this last little while, especially after the bearish candle that was formed. That made it even tougher.
That's exactly it, right? So when people are taking these trades, this is where when people message me, they're like, "How come I got stopped out?" It's you're not putting the whole story together, right? So you're taking the opportunity, but you have to understand the opportunity is not 100% there yet because the daily candle's still technically in that zone. So we could technically return to that area at any given point in the day, but there are instances where we're going to break out of that area. So you as a trader just have to be aware of that full story.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, because I've had a lot of indecision. Well, not indecision. I was thinking at the start I was being skeptical, kind of doubting myself. But I was more I've looked back on it and checked out what trades I've made. I was fine. And especially with gold was similar, waiting for it to break out of zones, this and the other. But it's just been a tough area this month so far.
That's right, yeah. And I mean, if you're looking right now, 134.550 is a very, very easy target for GJ. The issue then becomes when you get past 136, when you get into 136, you have a whole huge rejection on the daily. There's two massive rejections on the daily, so you're just driving into the zone there. And that's what's going to screw people over again because you're going to break out. So what's going to happen is this candle's going to break out. So, we're going to break up to the upside. We're going to get to like 135, 550, 135, 700. And it's just going to potentially reject. And then people are going to get screwed over because they're going to say, well, we just had a breakout. And it's like, well, no, because now we're entering another zone. Like we're in a super tight range on the daily. So we're just going to break up into another zone and then get trapped there again, unless it breaks through. But then it has to break through all the way to 137.
That's exactly it. Because you explain it perfectly then. Because I've had so many areas which have been important. So I think, well, if I move out here, which is a valid trade, literally like, 20 pips away, there's something more important or something. So then it kind of, it limits your targets as such. So like 135 became a really important level, and just below there was like a low end of a range, and it just got jumbled up. It got a bit too tight.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're trading GJ, that's something you just have to keep in mind is as we break up to 135, 550, it could potentially just reject again. So, just manage those trades and build out the story. And once you have that full story, you'll know that, hey, I'm comfortable taking this trade from like 370, 400 to 550. And then at 550, I have to make a decision.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, good one. So I've also got like a little level kind of about 400 off the 4 hour, which seems to be causing issues as well, which is kind of about where we're just kind of rejecting from a little bit.
134, 400?
Yeah, about there, yeah. If you look on 4 hour, probably as far back as where we first started to push it up originally on the 15th, on the 4 hour. Then it came down, created a support. We pushed higher, then it took a little while to try and break through it. Once we did, we had another pull down to where we went this morning. On the way back up, it's kind of a level. It's just something I've noticed on the lower time frames that kind of caused it a little bit.
I mean, I have basically the way I look at GJ the entire week was based on the 1 hour. These are playing in these ranges. You don't want to be looking at the 15 minutes or 5 minutes as I used to do. When it's trending, you can do it, and you're gonna spot a really nice, really nice trade. But the way it's behaving this entire week, I've been looking at the 1 hour and marking up the zones like support, resistance, and have a resistance. over 134.95, and I have my support 133.710. Basically, I start this pair has been starting playing in this 120 pips range. You know, if you look at the 1 hour, you're gonna have this nice rejection to the resistance zones and support zone.
Yeah,
but
I'll see.
The way it's behaving right now in middle of this is 120 pips range. I'll not touch it unless it's giving me another
decent. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, another decent entry, because right now I may, if I take a buy, I probably be in profits 10-15 pips, but it's gonna retrace all the way back. It's in the middle of this range. And
I see exactly the same thing.
the 1 hour candle is rejecting this area 134 535 530. So basically that rejection means to me, it means that it may drop a little bit more, probably towards the previous opening of the hour candle. It's to 134.10, 134.11. It's a dangerous range.
It is. I mean, if we get above this level up towards 500 and above, then you're the top half. Then aren't you? You're going to be. You should stay above there then. But yeah, it's a tough one.
It's really tough.
It's been a lot of waiting this week on GJ.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you get months like that sometimes. I think weeks that go like that. And then you get a week like 2 or 3 weeks ago where it's just full on moves, which is awesome.
So Liam Spalding asked a good question. How come GBP CAD flying, but GBP JPY not? So this is where we talk about correlating currencies and we learn about what creates movement in currencies. So when we look at GBP JPY, the Japanese yen, is usually used as a safe haven. So when there is what I would call instability in the markets, everyone fleets to the safe haven. When there's strength in the markets, everyone, sort of moves to the base currency pair. So in that case, it would be the pound. So, we're expecting upside for the pound because, there's relative strength coming back. So we're leaving the safe haven. Now, GBP CAD is moving differently. So people are now confused because, both of them have a base pair of the pound and we should be pushing. What you're not taking into consideration is what is happening with the Canadian dollar. There is your mystery solved. The Canadian dollar is getting rocked right now because of the price of crude oil. So oil is dropping, and Canada is a resource-based country, and we primarily export resource-based items, lumber, wheat, grain, and oil. Because the price of oil is dropping, that's weakening our currency. And because the pound isn't losing its value, but relatively moving smaller to the upside, there's a discrepancy between those two currencies, which is creating the push with GBP CAD, but not creating the push with GBP JPY. So if you're looking at that as a indicator or information, that is how you would evaluate that. And that's the key. And this is where, people talk about, when we talk about correlations, and we always say, not everything is correlated. Just because the pound is strong or the pound is weak doesn't mean it's going to be strong or weak against particular currencies. So when you're looking at those little nuances, those are things that you have to keep in mind from, simple economics. What is the overall structure of each country? What makes up its revenue? How do countries generate revenue? Australia, it's very heavy with gold as a resource. So when gold moves and gains value, usually the Aussie dollar gains value in that sense. It's things to think of like that. And when you start to write those small little ideas down, you'll start to be able to peg and get further ahead with trading, because you'll say, oh, the Canadian dollar is crap right now because oil's dropping. But as oil starts to recover, the Canadian dollar will strengthen. So what currencies would I look to bet against with the Canadian dollar strengthening? I'd probably be looking at like CAD JPY, or another weak pair like CAD NZD or something like that, because what you want to do is you want to take advantage of the discrepancy then. Whereas with the pound or with the US dollar, the relative strength or economic value of each country would be on par with each other, right? So if you think about first world countries or superpower countries, you think of like the UK, the euro, the pound, the pound, the euro, the Canadian dollar and the US dollar. So when all of them are strengthening, you don't want to peg them against each other. Like you don't want to trade, like GBP USD if both the pound and the US dollar are gaining strength, because it will be a battle. Because where do we expect that currency pair to run to? So like I said in lots of earlier iterations of the stream, you're always looking to see which pairs have the biggest discrepancy, the strong pair versus the weak pair. But if you have two strong pairs and one of those particular pairs is doing bad or their economy's hurting, that's where you're going to get a better move. So that's where you would take advantage of like GBP CAD in that instance, because the pound is starting to recover, but the Canadian dollar is taking a beating. So you're going to get a bigger discrepancy and a bigger move because of that. But when they're both doing well, you're not going to get the same volatility. You're going to get more of a range. So when you're starting to trade, keep that in mind. It's the reason why a lot of times we trade, GBP JPY or gold as an example, because when the discrepancy hits, it's a nice move, right? You know, like the yen, when the yen gets tossed around, the pound really moves against it. But we need to have that real hard discrepancy to get that move happening.
Yeah, thanks. That's kind of like what I was explaining before when I was unmuted. And then you took over. I'm like, what? Then I noticed I was
He's just
muted.
repeating what I've just said.
Oh,
Yeah.
you were unmuted?
Yeah, I was unmuted.
Awesome. Just spent 10 minutes talking about it. Ted's just like, well,
Yeah.
Why is he talking over me?
Yeah, I was like, whoa, hold on.
Why is he repeating what I just said?
Yeah, yeah, because I switched to GPCAD, switched to GJ, and I was explaining why, and then I looked at him and I was like, fuck, I'm muted.
You can explain it again if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's to me last night, man. I was saying, hey guys, how are you guys? Nobody answered me. They said, what the fuck? These guys don't want to talk to me? What happened? And after a while, I noticed that my microphone was back. So yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, it happens more time now. Beautiful.
So yeah.
So GPCAD moved to where we wanted it to move, and GJ just ranged. Stuck in the range. Raja, please assist. I watched your back to basics video on your channel saying something about disregarding a doji candle. Is it the same thing as DJ 30 minutes now? Previous 30 minute candle, please. Yeah, but then you're taking into account there are 4 minutes left here, and now candle. Now you need to see that okay, in the next 4 minutes will price continue moving bullish, and it's GJ. It can happen. You know, so that was basically the idea. So there's always probability. You know, if this a doji happens, then there's a higher probability price is going to continue. So it all based on probability. Probability. Oh, it looks like GJ is about to make a push over here. In the last 3 minutes? Can it happen?
Trust GG for the buys yet. Let's do more to give me confidence.
So we were supposed to have a guest at 9 in the morning, but the guest is no longer going to be here. So we'll have to wait. Who was the guest? Oh, it's a surprise guest. Probably later down the road, we're gonna have the guest back again.
It's not today.
No, it's not today. That's what I said.
Yeah. Next month.
Hey, bro, how are you? Was on your YouTube channel this morning, and I had a question for you. Let's see if I could get this right. So I noticed no traders really made money today. I mean, I thought a lot of traders, none of them really made any money. And I'm wondering, do you think this was driven by institutional traders setting bear and bull traps? So when we got the bad news for the, I wondered if maybe perhaps institutional, and then once we were buying in, institutional traders set those as traps, and then started to go. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Do you guys have or recommend any educational videos? No. I don't have any educational videos. Do you trade off weekly reports, or is it more on the structure in front of you? It's basically more based off the structure that's presented to you in the moment. Wow, man, I received some way too many messages to answer. I'm not gonna answer everybody. Way too many messages.
Oh, shit.
Come to a live education stream and then you ask, do you recommend any education videos? Just quit trading now, please.
Yeah, go watch Tiger King.
Yeah, go watch Tiger King. That's
It's
educational.
educational. Yeah.
Well, it's Friday.
Oh, man, I just love some of these questions.
We've got Friday funnies today.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're gonna destroy some souls today.
I'm gonna see what I can do.
Humor the world for a few hours.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Q almost broke 200,000 in a day. Yeah, it was a good move by Q. What would have been better if Q had showed us that he was in the trades from the beginning?
Oh, no one does that.
Yeah,
No
so
one
that
does
was
that.
interesting. That was interesting. I do like the marketing on that. So if anyone's trying to pay attention to the marketing there, nobody knew that we were in the trades. So if he had lost the trades, nobody would have seen it. So that was the scary one. I mean, he got 200,000, so you can't knock the guy, but don't make out like you were 100% sure of the trade because you were in it for 4 days or whatever, and you didn't post it until it was in profit.
Yeah. There's a lot of drawdown.
Yeah.
Hey Ted.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm in a gold buy right now, and I have
Yeah.
5 stops above 1700. Based on what I said earlier on in the week, I said I was waiting for a retest of 1700. But what in actual fact, what I've seen is that price didn't exhaust itself at 1700. It needed to go down to 1680s, and so now I'm seeing what I like. My buy stops being above 1700 is kind of like where this 4 hour is breaking the highs and breaking the last previous resistance. So.
Yeah, my only concern with that though is we are rejecting the 1689 area, but with the way the stock market's moving, I don't know if this move up is because now we're gaining liquidity back into gold, so now we're resuming trend. Just with overall instability in the world, and the U.S. stock market obviously doing a bit of a correction because of the coronavirus. The cure for it, or whatever, the vaccination or whatever they're doing with that. So my only concern would be, I think that's a great entry. I'm looking at gold too, a little bit more to the upside. I'm just gonna wait one more day because this daily candle for me could be a pullback for the end of the week, right? Because technically now the week is basically rejected, but it's still maintained a bullish structure. So I don't know if that means that we're going to reject next week and then continue back down into like the 1670s, or we're going to go right back up to 1640 or 1742. That's my only concern. But for today, I think buys are valid because your daily candle's now rejecting that area and it's pulling up to finish off the week in terms of that overall rejection.
Okay, so you're saying that you need more information regarding the daily and the weekdays.
Right. Because today's candle pullback could be just the weekend pullback, like the end of the week pullback, where I don't know if that's going to continue to keep our bearish structure on the dailies, but our weekly candle still has a bullish structure. So if this now starts to pull up to the 1700s and beyond, we know that next week more than likely we should have a weekly continuation to the upside. My only concern is we're going to have a wick down first before we go up. But the opposite end, where Tashawn's right here, is if we do continue up Monday and Tuesday, we should continue a push up into the 1700s, reject that area, and then drive down, and that begins the descent because the US dollar is gaining value.
Yep, makes a lot of sense. So I'll be inclined to wait for the Monday and see what happens myself. But like you said, I don't like the idea of potentially getting caught out in like you said, like a weekly pullback or some sort. That's the only issue that puts me off. But I can see the point of it. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like his entry. His entry is very good. So it protects it protects him from both sides. For me, if I had an entry at like 1689, 1685, I would be very comfortable holding this trade because I would know either two things. One, I've got my stops already in, so I'm not going to take a loss if it does decide to wick down. But two, if momentum carries over the weekend and we pull up to like 1712 or 1705 or whatever it is, we know that that's the beginning of the upside weekly candle to potentially reject and then drop back down. But if it doesn't reject, it's just going to fill that wick all the way back up to 1742, essentially. Not like in 1 week, but that would be the trajectory at that.
Yeah, that'd be the aim. Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's how I see it. Same. Yep. Very good.
Yeah, so that's good. No, it's a good trade for Tashawn.
I think so.
We just have to see if it hits stop loss.
Yeah, but I mean, but like I said, when you look at, this was the thing when I used to trade the higher time frames, and people always used to get frustrated with me. The higher time frames give you a bigger margin for error, because when you think about it logically, right? So like what we just went through is a perfect example, is even if you're wrong, you're going to be right. And what I mean by that is because you're working off the higher time frames, you see that we're going to have to either way get back up into that region if we're going to reject again, right? If you understand what I'm saying. So we have the initial, so if you think of that zone that we're in, like we're in right now from like say 1700 to 1742, hypothetically, let's call that a zone. So the strategy here is what I call the what I used to be, it was just the dumb luck strategy, if you want to call it that. Because if I was taking buys and I believe that my bias for gold was bullish, right? So just hypothetically speaking, we're saying gold's going to go up. Even if I was wrong, the dumb luck in me still allows me to be right because the initial tap up is bullish to start to drive back down, which would then strengthen the US dollar, and then gold would start to drop back into the 1680s. So that's the dumb luck scenario where you don't realize what you're doing until you end up doing it. And you're like, oh, I just collected like 20 or 30 pips. Meanwhile, you weren't even in the right trend. It was because you were following the initial trend, but you didn't realize that the candle that you were following currently, like the one that you're in right now, is setting up for the drop. But it needs to grab liquidity from the upside before it starts to tank. So that's sort of the dumb luck strategy, where when you work off the higher time frame, you can be right in both instances. Like you could turn around, and this is where people hold those massive drawdowns, is because they're like, well, we currently see that gold rejected this area, so this candle's coming up to reject that area. I just don't know how far it's going to reject. Whereas someone who's taking buys right now is like, well, we're going to continue up to the upside because that's the overall trend. So both are sort of right in a respect where you're going to finish off your trade because you're just following trend, and that person's going to be in a massive drawdown, hoping that now the US dollar is going to recover and then the drop will start. So that's where when you work on the higher time frames, you have a little bit more forgiveness because you can start to see, hey, if these time frames don't shift, then I can exit my trade. Whereas if you work on a smaller time frame, your margin for error is less, because you know, if you're on a 15-minute candle and you're looking for 15 pips or 20 pips, and then it suddenly shoots down 30 pips, you're like, well, I just got stopped out because I'm in the wrong side of the trend. Where on the 4 hour or the higher time frame, you have a wider stop loss. You can play with that margin of error essentially.
Yeah, I agree. Totally, I agree, because this trade that I'm taking now is based on the 4 hour, and it's based on analysis from last week when I said about 1700, right? So if you look at like 16th of February, price rejected like 16. Let me just check. Like the 16th of February, price rejected like 1686, came down, came back up, rejected 1700
That's
hard,
right.
and then pulled all the way down to 1470. So 1700, like as we was talking about in Instagram, it was super psychological.
Exactly.
And as you see right now, price has gone up to 1740. So to me, 1740s is like historically all-time highs for spot price, and 1700 is a round number. So they're both reaction levels where impulsive moves can happen, where investors might not anticipate the flow of dollars to move in or move out, so they take their positions and put money elsewhere, so that drives liquidity maybe into the stock market. So 1740s is impulsive and 1700s is impulsive. So like what Ted's saying, now we're coming back up to test 1700 from the downside. This could be potentially something where we're going up to 1700 and a very important psychological level to grab liquidity to then go back down, because the stock market is starting to move up. But then he's also saying that if it breaks through it, then we know we've got our comms firms for Monday and Tuesday. So I'm trading from the perspective of, obviously I want it to push through the 1700 level, but you just got to wait. I'm using a few fundamental confluences as well, just like mining production in the world. I think there's like 296 mines that have shut down in the world right now due to coronavirus. 70% of those being gold and silver. So that's like, and that's been happening like over the past 2 weeks. So I'm kind of hoping the mining shock of that translates over into obviously less supply and higher demand in terms of COMEX and LBMA. I'm kind of, anticipating.
Yeah, I mean, and this is where like I argue with a lot of swing traders. I get into a lot of trouble here because what they look at is they look at this weekly candle as rejection. And then they say, now we're going to go to the downside, right? So to exactly to what you're saying is, that this rejection from 1742 is rejection now down. It's going to start our dip down to 1470. Like if you look on the weekly, there's massive, now we have a massive supply zone at the top here and a demand zone back at like 1470, 1438. So if you're swing trading, you would say, okay, in this zone, as long as we stay within this zone of 1742 to I would say 1689 as an example, as long as we stay within this zone and we don't go further or break 1742, we're going to reject down to 1400. That would be a swing trade mentality, right? Because you're essentially holding a 60 I guess it would be almost like a 600 pip or 60 pip drawdown for another 200 pip gain at that point. So that's an accurate swing trade. My issue, and this is what I try and explain to people, and swing traders get mad at me, is why do I want to take a trade when I still see bullish momentum, when I can wait to get that, I guess, bearish confirmation or that bearish rejection on a weekly candle and then start that move down? And I get into debates with swing traders all the time because for me mentally, I can't process that. I can't, like, I look at gold right now. Yeah, it rejected on the weekly, but there's still bullish momentum in gold, right? And people will argue with me till the cows come home and they'll say, well, no, that rejection is now we're going to the downside. Why wouldn't you as a trader wait to see that bearish candle rejection? Like, why would you still want to trade within a bullish range, even though it did reject, but there's no confirmation yet on the higher time frame? Like, why are we taking that initial rejection as the ultimate indicator to say now that we're going down? And that's where I debate with people, because my brain doesn't comprehend that, and it's never comprehended that. Is if I see blue candles or whatever my bullish candle is, why am I now considering that rejection? That's not rejection to me. That just means that we've just exhausted that initial tap up and we could technically return to that. Now, if we see a bearish candle rejection, I'm more inclined to say, okay, now we're going to begin the drop. It's just, when you look at that, I just think that there's smarter ways to enter trades from a swing trade perspective that will still give you the positive risk to reward, and it will still be a good swing trade. It's just people don't have patience. Like, they just want to say, oh, it's rejected, this is it, I have to catch the train, otherwise it's leaving. And no, really, if gold rejects like it did this week, next week it's probably going to do the same thing. If not, you can easily put sell stops below 1689 and catch it all the way to 1657, and then basically all the way to 1595. I mean, it's very easy if you're going to swing trade off the weekly where you can place your stops. And that is where, people, I think, just the ego or the being afraid that they're going to miss the trade comes into. Where I look at this is, I mean, we can play both sides. Tashawn's right 100% when it comes to we could get more upside, but he's already locked in a good trade where if I see rejection next week and we start going bearish on the weekly, then I know that I can start taking trades below 1689, even below 1670, and still have a solid trade all the way to 1657. And then what you find is you just have an easier trade, but the problem is it's not a sexy trade. Right. And this is where people get caught up in that whole hoopla, because I know there are people that took sells from 1742 because there was a massive rejection there. And in a week from now, we're gonna start seeing charts where people took, a swing trade from 1742 or from 1700, and they're like, look at the rejection. And it's like, I look at that and it's like, how did you know though? Like you don't know. A lot of this confluence right now of rejection has happened because Donald Trump tweeted. Nobody knew Donald Trump was going to tweet last night, and anybody tells you that is messed in the head. And that's where I take offense to people when they're like, well, I knew this was going to happen. And it's like, you didn't know it was going to happen because somebody with some sort of power came on and spoke and decided to shift the market. It had nothing to do with any sort of correction or any sort of real data to support that. It was just what he thought he was going to do. And well, I'm reopening the country either way, and wait to see what happens with the opposition he gets from the Democrats on how this is going to work, and it's going to cause massive friction, which will then drive the US dollar weaker again. So I mean, it's just, you know, we have to take things with a grain of salt. We can't say that I knew this was going to happen. It doesn't happen that way, especially when there's a fundamental release, like a superpower, like, you know, a president or a prime minister speaking, and it drives price based on rumor and it's not fact. Like, I mean, him saying that he's going to open the country May 4th. Okay, well, let's wait and see. And if it does, you're still going to get another push with the US dollar strengthening on May 4th if they actually go through with it. So you have that opportunity. You can't just base your information on, well, because Donald Trump tweeted, that's why I was right. And it's like, you didn't know he was going to do that.
No, we had the same thing all outside. Josh says we had the same thing all last year, like trade talks, for example. How they were saying, oh, no, but yet nothing was signed. You know, nothing factual was done. But then, how could you tell that was going to happen? Exactly. We're going to get a big move. It's just like you said, all rumor until the factual stuff's done, and then you see the confirmations. Then, damn right, it's Excel. You know, you can figure it out then because you got a lot more. Well, for me, I'll be the same. A lot more confirmed and comfy in my position.
Yeah. And that's why I tend to agree with what Ted's saying with regard, and it adds confluence further to this trade that I've taken now. That this move down from the 1740s is just a reaction. It's just impulsive. Because nobody, and if Donald Trump didn't tweet, I don't expect that gold to have done what it did last night and just dropped by how many ever pips it did, you know. So the fact that it's the same kind of thing when me and Rakeel were talking, I think a week ago now, regarding the price of oil, and me and Rakeel both anticipated that oil was going to gap up, and then when we realized it was actually no, because these people are continuing their production rate. And they're talking about something that may or may not happen in the future. So it's what Ted said in his story. You know, it's just classic pump and dump, manipulate the market. But you know, that push down, it just kind of grabs more liquidity for the move up. So the move up to 1740s, you know, it's all the more fruitful for anyone that does actually take the trade. You know, but today is Friday, so.
Yeah, and to your point, to Sean, like what scares me the most, and I don't know why no one else sees this, and I'm pretty sure, you know, maybe there's a handful of people do, but the stock market's rallying on optimism when they lost like whatever millions of jobs. Like how does that make any sense? And you just have to ask yourself that question. And you know, and that's where I sort of like when people were trading US 30, right? So people were buying US 30 yesterday or selling US 30 as an example yesterday, right? Yeah. So you're selling US 30 on the basis that you believe the stock market's going to continue to decline because obviously there was massive job losses. Earnings reports for companies now are going to suffer over a couple of quarters because they're not generating income. So you would assume that the US 30 would tank, right? Like, I mean, that just makes sense. So the Dow Jones, and US 30, for anyone who doesn't know, is the Dow Jones essentially. And that's, you know, the major players in the stock market for the New York stock. And what we're saying is that it's going to lose value, that all the stocks will decrease. Trump comes in yesterday and makes a bold statement saying he's reopening the economy on May 4th. That's what we're doing. And that drives the US 30 or the Dow Jones up 2,000 points, basically, in a matter of 10 minutes or, you know, 20 minutes. Anybody in their right mind who is of sane mind would say that was the biggest manipulation in the world.
Yeah.
There's if I have $5 in my pocket and I turn around and say that now I'm going to be able to buy a pair of jeans worth $40 because now my $5 in my pocket only is now eligible to buy those jeans that are worth $40, that you would think that's a crime. You'd be like, well, yeah, it's like, how is your dollar worth more than my dollar? And that's exactly what happened yesterday. Oh, well, guys, we're just going to start the economy. Everything's going to be fine. That's how are you doing that? You just lost 10 million jobs or 16 million jobs. You have a stimulus package of $2 trillion or billion or whatever you're doing with your money. How do you think the economy is just going to recover and the stock market's just going to do wonderful things? Like, and that's where I took offense to people yesterday who were taking buys with the Dow, saying that the Dow was going to jump, saying, "Oh, I knew this was going to happen." There was nothing in the world that was telling anybody that the U.S. economy was suddenly going to recover because they were going to open up the economy on May 4th. Like, there was no information anywhere. Every sort of fundamental piece, every technical piece spoke to downside for the U.S. economy. So, I mean, that's the reason why, you know, when you look at it, you're like, it's pure manipulation.
And, you know, to add to your point, Ted, regarding the stock markets and money and companies and things like that, the reason why Trump's saying all these things, again, is just like it's speculation, what Monty was saying, just to drive investors back into it. Exactly. Because disease, I don't know if anyone knows, but disease, I need to start doing research into it more, but there's these companies called zombie companies, and 16% of the US, of the whole of the US stock market is made on these companies called zombie companies. And these are companies that don't make enough money to even pay back the interest on the debt. So what they have to do every quarter is go to the debt markets and refinance themselves so people buy their debt so that they can still have liquidity in order to continue keeping their company afloat. And 16% of the US stock market are zombie companies. So it's crazy when you think about it, that if these companies don't even make enough when the economy is open to pay back interest on the debt, never mind P&E or bloody wages, it's crazy to think that what's happening is like what Ted said, with just raising the debt ceiling just because I kind of just like, okay, we're just gonna pass this bill through and we're gonna raise the ceiling by, it's like Japan stock bubble that I posted. Kuroda just decided, I'm gonna double the debt limit this year. What? How?
And the thing is what we said the other day about, look at, like you said, the debt, this, that, and the other. It's not something that a single comment is going to fix over a weekend.
Yes.
That's just plain and simple.
Yeah.
It's not going to change it.
And the thing is, you know, when, you know, because there's comments in the chats now, people lost jobs because they're closed due to the virus. You have to understand that it's not as simple as opening up. You have to think of the bigger picture. Okay, so I have a flower shop, right? So I have a flower shop, it's Ted's Flowers. I just laid off 5 of my employees. Okay, so those 5 employees are temporarily laid off. That means that they can't afford to pay certain bills. So they received a stimulus package from the government. Okay, now think the bigger picture. Who is buying Ted's Flowers? Other people have to buy my flowers for me to generate income, for me to generate business, for me to hire those people back. Everybody right now is in a state of squirreling their money. Everybody's panicking right now. Nobody wants to spend money because they don't have the money. They see that, you know, the whole world has come to a standstill. So when people say those jobs will come back, they're not going to come back for months because it's going to take a while for people to start spending money again. Just because you have the money doesn't mean that you're going to go out and buy flowers. You're not going to buy non-essential goods for a while. You're not going to be going to the Walmart to buy Xbox games because you're going to look and say, hey, I want to put food on my plate first. I want to pay down the debt that I accumulated by not working. I want to do all that before I start spending my money on what we would consider non-essential items. So when people turn around and say, well, those jobs will come back. Yes, but they're not going to come back May 4th. They're not going to just, you know, Ted's Flower Shop is just not going to open up and bring back 6 of his employees and be like, hey guys, we have a lineup out the door. Everyone's buying flowers today. That's not going to happen. And that's what people aren't realizing is to restart an economy, it's going to happen in stages, but you also need the consumer or the general public to actually believe that they have to go out and spend, right? Yeah. What about all the big Carnival cruise lines? What about the airlines? What about all the destination places, like all the vacation spots? You now have to have people go and spend. It's the same thing with sporting events. Do you think people are going to be out going to sporting events right away buying tickets? Where are they getting that money from? So now your bars are still slowly to start to open again. Restaurants are still hard to open, right? You have to realize the whole magnitude of when you shut down an economy, you can't just put fire into the stove, turn it on and everything just works again. Like, this isn't Sim City. Like, you can't do that. Like, you have to wait to see things move. And that's why I'm saying the recovery phase isn't going to be as glorious as people think, because people are going to be afraid to spend money, and you're going to need all your politicians screaming at you to go out and buy stuff. And people are going to be like, well, how do I not know that the coronavirus is going to come back again? What if we get a second wave? That's what's going to be on everybody's mind, is what if we get a second wave next winter? Like, it's not going to be as simple as like, oh, we'll just go out and spend money again. So it's just something to keep in mind, that when we look at how people are injecting rumors into sort of the economic or the markets, you have to think logically. Think of yourself. If you've lost your job, or you're temporarily laid off, or you're working from home, or whatever you're doing, do you really want to start going back to work right away as soon as they say, hey, May 4th, we're opening up? No. I still see people dying. I still see people getting sick. I'm going to be still very cautious. I'm not going to just go out there and be like, hey, it's time to go eat out 5 days a week. Like, why are you going to put yourself into, like, technically speaking, it's like when I go to a casino in the States and there's a smoking section beside the non-smoking section. So you're telling me that the smoke just stops in the middle of the air and says, hey, we're not going to the no smoking section? It still reaches there. It doesn't have the same impact because they have all the ventilators, but it's just like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. How do you have a smoking section and a non-smoking section without a partition? Smoke is smoke. It travels through the air, right? So the same thing with this virus. Like, all of a sudden now we've decided that the virus is not going to happen anymore. It just takes one bad situation to start it all up again, right? So like, we just have to use common sense at that point.
You also just touched on the subject about going back to work and stuff. Even if you, regardless of the virus, is there even going to be the jobs there for, like, you know, look, your recruitment companies and stuff who place people? Are the companies even going to be looking for staff, you know, at the same time? You know, because if they've got no, like you said, the income coming in for their sales, do they even need extra staff? So there's going to be people. Just imagine the amount of people that are going to look for jobs as well. They're going to try and place them, but it's probably not going to be places, and that's going to be a massive factor. I think it's like you said, and who's going to go on holiday, man? You know,
Exactly.
there's no way. I won't get on a plane anyway. But you know, the fact is, no one's just going to plan to just pop over to Spain quick for a holiday or something, are they?
Well, that's exactly it. And I mean, it's just when you look at sort of the dynamics, we as traders, we have the inside info. Because we see the manipulation firsthand. So we as traders, we see both sides. We see the general public, which are the does that walk around all day. And we also see, you know, sort of the technical charts. We see sort of the fundamental news, and we've put it all together. Like, we have a really good job because we sit on both sides. And when you start to see sort of politicians or people in power start talking, the general public listens to that, right? Because you'll hear people start cheering in the streets that, oh, hey, everything's going to start May 4th. But then when you look at the charts and you look at sort of the technicals and the underlying fundamentals of what's happened over the last couple of months in the market, you know that that's not going to be as easy as somebody thinks. But when you're naive, it's great to have that idealistic view of things, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's going to take years to sort this out. I think it's going to be a long, long time.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I want everything to move back to as soon as possible, because right now I'm literally doing nothing and I want to start doing things again. Yeah. But it's just, you need everybody's confidence in that, and you need people to go out there and do it. And I just don't think that, I think people, let's put it this way, the general public or the average Joe learned a lot about their financial situation during this event. People learned that they don't need to buy all the stuff that they thought they needed to buy to survive, like all the materialistic goods. And B, people are now realizing that, man, if this shit happens again, I got to be prepared. So I need to have financial resources. I need to make sure I have savings. So when you think about that, this is a very good reset for a lot of the people that were playing, I guess, the game of, well, nothing can ever happen to me. I'm invincible. Now they've witnessed it firsthand, because there was a lot of people that I know, a lot of good friends that I have, that all messaged me going, well, what am I going to do, Ted? What's going to happen? I have no savings. I didn't think this is what ever happened. I didn't think that I would lose my job. I didn't think that I would be on leave for like 3 months. Like, how could this just happen? And it's like, you don't know that it can just happen. You have to plan for worst case all the time.
Yeah, it opens everyone's eyes a bit massively. Sorry.
Yeah.
It opens your eyes up hugely, I think, to stuff that can happen. Well, you kind of got to have it in the back of your mind, don't you? You've got to look after yourself and your family and stuff, and it can happen just like that.
Yeah,
Well,
something that
take?
a lot of
weeks. Sorry, T.
Yeah, something that not a lot of people are realizing, as in the dirter people, like Ted said, is that when you have these kind of situations and the company's debt to GDP ratio is poor, the country's debt to GDP ratio is poor, they have to go into the national deficit in order to get money to facilitate these stimulus packages, and that only leads to higher taxes over time anyway. So either way, you're getting shafted now in nominal terms, because they're taking money away from you by shutting the economy. But then in the future, any money that you do receive, they're taking that as well. So the manipulation is insane.
Yeah. So it's just things to think about. So like as an individual, as you're getting back into the economy and stuff like that, it's just things to think of overall. Is, you know, we as traders are a little bit more, you know, I don't know what the word is, but we're a little bit more astute to what's going on. It's just the general public you have to worry about. But I think the general public, it seems like they've touched the stove, so to speak. A lot of people realize that they do need savings, that they shouldn't be spending frivolously. It's sort of like when you get a speeding ticket, right? When you get a speeding ticket, the first week that you get that ticket, you're driving the speed limit and you're watching everybody pass you going, well, this is stupid. I got a speeding ticket for doing exactly what they're doing, but I'm never getting another one. And then a month goes by and you're back to speeding again. So that's going to be the initial restart of the economy. Everyone's going to be like, well, I got to save money because this can happen again. And then 3 months from now, everyone's going to be like, well, I forgot about that. We're okay. We're just going to spend money. So it's just something to keep in mind.
That's a perfect way to explain it, because like you said, you'll get the stages of the push, and then it'd be like, oh no, we're back to normal, and that, you know, it just there'll be a lot of dips and lows, and it's not going to happen. Like you said, it's not going to be a weekend thing. I mean, I swear it's not going to be okay on Monday.
I just don't get how these guys who are the leaders, you know, because I'm sure the people who are at the Federal Reserve or the Central Bank of England or Bank of Japan, these guys get paid to be analysts, to get paid to make predictions based on mathematical data. And some of the projections that they come out with, it befuddles me. The US still hasn't reached its peak in terms of cases, in terms of deaths. The UK hasn't reached its peak in terms of deaths. Neither is Canada. How are these people going to open up the country?
Spain, man. Look at Spain. It's just done the same, isn't it?
I think they're being optimistic about this thing, and basically for the economy, they want to risk lives other than the economy. The economy is really.
That's right, because with the optimistic statements, that obviously it drives money into the markets. But what piques my interest about what's now coming to the Western world is what's just happened in Japan, with the Japanese government sanctioning the Bank of Japan to buy ETFs, because that's now starting to happen in America. And you know, if you look at the charts, if you look at the data, historical and relevant today, that just spells really big trouble. What people need to understand is that there's a very, very strong correlation, a very strong link between COVID-19 and the waves increasing and getting more intense. And on the opposite side of that correlation, when you reach the peak of that and you come down, that's when you're going to start seeing a trickle over effect into the economy. Because by the time America reached the peak, May, maybe June, that's when the second quarter stuff comes out. So I think we're in for a world of pain, but like Ted said, looking into the markets like this and being able to trade gold, UJ, GJ, you have to become like a kind of amateur economist.
Yeah, I think it makes you a little bit, like you were saying about it, makes you a little bit more maybe open-minded to what potentials are out there that can happen. I think because you're looking at the bigger picture of everything. so you're kind of not aware of things that could happen, like you said, but it gives you an idea that, you know, things like this can happen and you could be in a pickle real quick. So with your savings and stuff, you need to like look after yourself, you know.
I was watching this for at least like mid-June last year, and I was seeing the SP 500 just shoot up, you know, time and time again, just keep on shooting up, and then Trump blowing balloons in it, like blowing air into the thing, right the way through. And I thought, you know what, this is over. Inflated, and I just got rid of my company last year. I thought this whole thing is going to have a consequence, and I just got rid of my company. And I thought, you know what, I think something's going to happen. I didn't know about COVID-19 before anybody thinks it's me. But I thought there's something that the market's so overinflated, it just needs a straw to break its back. You know, the camel's back kind of thing. And you could look at the charts and think this is just being pumped up, and it's not only me. There's so many people that could see it from a mile off, you know. And I think the worst is still to come. And people, my friends, are still just got a realization: we don't have savings. We've got this. We're taking on loan after loan. All I did is I paid off all my loans, and just made sure that I'm insured for my mortgage. That's it. So I don't really care about anything else. And I got rid of my company. I said I'm not taking any risk if there's a threat of a recession worldwide. You know.
Yeah, because you know, if you look at the data regarding kind of like recessions and depressions, right? At the worst case scenario for this year, we're at least going to be as bad as 2008 financial crash, at least. So what does that mean for the average person? Do you know what I mean? And guys like Monty, who's got his business, guys like you, Yas, who've got your business. It's these guys who are not the huge companies. They're the ones that get hit the most, because then when you go to the banks for the help that they're saying you're going to get, they don't want to give it you. Like they said, you know, the other day that I think Barclays said that we want a house as support. It's just crazy, man. And then Trump comes out.
Yeah, sorry, Sean. Yeah, banks are good at lending you money when you don't need it. Like if you go to a bank when you don't need money, they give you all the credit you want. When you actually need money, they don't give it to you. No, in all honesty, if you go to a bank and you actually need money, they won't give it to you. But when you have large sums of money, they offer you lines of credit cards. Usually I walk into my bank and I feel like, you know, they're ready to buy me dinner before, you know, Ted, have you looked at these products? Have you looked at these mutual fund products? Our advisors are here to help you. I'm like, no, I'm good. Oh, but you know, your money's just in your savings account. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but it's not doing anything. No, I'm all aware of that. Thank you. You know, and it's just they're begging to do something with your money because they want to collect fees off of it. But when you're broke, you know, like maybe 7 years ago when I had my regular accounts, you know, it's like, oh, hey, can I get a line of credit? Whoa, you know, we're gonna have to get you to fill out this application. Now I walk into the banks. I mean, I swear they'll sell me to the bank if I wanted it. I mean, the branch manager comes up to me. He's like, "So, are you looking to buy a house? You know, do you need a mortgage or anything?" I'm like, "No, I'm fine. You know, I can buy things if I need them." It's like, "Well, you know, are you looking to upgrade anything?" I'm like, "No." You know, it's like, "Would you like a credit card?" "No, I have one." "Do you need to up the line of credit?" "No, not really." You know, it's like,
yeah, that's true.
I definitely, you know, the thing is that I remember during the last crash, and I don't think, you know, when people learn their lesson, I don't think anybody did, because I saw just a few years later, all my friends had brand new cars again, you know, and they were taking out loans to buy a second home and a third home and all this kind of business. And it's the same thing when I looked about a year ago. I looked at my friend and 3 or 4 of them had like 2, 3, 4 properties and they were all mortgaged up to their eyeballs, you know? And go ahead, sorry.
The biggest psychological thing to that is the way we've been conditioned in this society. So when you think about work, right? So you go work your job 8 hours. In most instances, you don't need to work a full 8 hours to complete the task that you're doing at your job. Let's all be honest. You take coffee breaks, you have a lunch break, you chat with your coworker, you sit on YouTube, you do all these things. But the world has conditioned us for a 40 or a 60-hour work week. So now your mind is very exhausted. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to feel sorry for yourself. In a sense, I need to reward my good behavior, right? So I work 60 hours a week at a job. I need to show something for that. And this is where the whole psychological economic model comes from. Because why do we buy fancy cars? It's a sign of success. Where do we get success from? Working hard. So what do? We reward ourselves. The average 9-to-5 worker should not be rewarding themselves the way that they do, because the work that they're doing isn't having the impact that they think is having. What you're doing is you're working long hours. So you're saying, hey, I need to go on vacation because I've worked hard for this. When in actual fact, if you did the work at your job and you were allowed to leave once your work was done, you would feel a better sense of satisfaction, and you wouldn't be off running to go on vacation because you would only be working 15 hours a week or 18 hours a week, but you did the job that you were scheduled to do for the full 40 hours. So it's a psychological trap that the world has created for everybody. He said, hey, you worked 40 hours a week, you worked hard, so go reward yourself. Go buy a fancy car because you're going to show people that you worked hard to earn it. Whereas if you only worked 15 hours a week or 14 hours a week and still took home the same pay, you would have a better quality of life. You would be at home, you'd be well rested. You wouldn't look to purchase material goods because you would be doing other things that would be more fulfilling. But when you only have Saturday and Sunday to relax, you're like, hey, I need to reward myself because I worked hard all last week. I need to buy something. I need to do something for myself. And that's where the average Joe gets caught into that trap, because you're out there in corporate America or wherever you live and you're earning that big paycheck of $100,000 a year. You need that BMW because it's like, hey, I earned it. I just went out there and worked 60 hours a week. I'm the vice president of this division. I should be driving that fancy car because I put in the time to earn that car. Whereas chances are, if you were allowed to leave your job at any time that you finished your task, you wouldn't feel that you needed to buy that car because you'd be like, hey, I just went to play golf yesterday afternoon because I finished my job at 11 o'clock in the morning. And, people look at that, and if you look closely, you'll realize job satisfaction is a direct relation to what people want to buy, right? When you're not satisfied with your job, you have to justify why you're doing it. And that's where people get confused, and that's what drives the economy. That's why you have people financing Mercedes-Benz that are working entry-level positions in a corporation, because it's like they've worked so hard, they need to reward themselves, and they don't feel justified by doing the work that they're doing because they've been putting in so many hours with no gratification. So what do? You go out and buy yourself a materialistic good to make yourself feel that you're important because you completed that task over the last 60 hours, when technically it didn't take you 60 hours. I used to work, I could do my job in 2 hours and I would sit there the rest of the day. But then what happens is your boss looks at you weird and says, don't you have anything to do? So I planned it out properly where it's like, I just look busy the entire day. And, I would just flip between screens. I mean, everybody knows that. You can go work in a corporate job right now. I guarantee you do probably 2 hours of work. There's nobody in a corporate job, unless you're heavily inundated with work 100% of the time, that works a full 8 hours. There's nobody. Everybody jerks around. They all take time. They go for a smoke break, coffee break, half hour this, go talk to your coworker in the other cubicle. Nobody works a full 8 hours nonstop like it's a sweatshop. Nobody does that. Everybody's just having a good time. They show up 15 minutes late. They leave 10 minutes early. You have an hour and a half for lunch. You have, some meeting that runs over time. You're sitting around in a boardroom. You're just joking. Someone throws on a funny cat video and you sit there and watch it for 10 minutes. Like it's a joke. So no offense, Ted, why did you buy a Porsche and Tesla? Oh, because I wanted to. I enjoy those cars. But I didn't buy 10 cars. I just bought the 2 because that's what I wanted to drive. I also only work 15 hours a day, or 15 hours a week. I'm exposing corporate secrets. Yes, I am.
Oh, it's been a pretty intelligent conversation for Friday.
Yeah.
I was expecting more roasts. It's quite serious today.
But I think the level of debt is scary. I think that's something that when I look around just my colleagues, and most of my friends are professionals, and even then, they have decent jobs, professional jobs, and they're in the same trap as people with not so well earning jobs. That everybody I look around me is inundated in debt. I just can't see. There's only about probably a handful of people I know that are not stuck in debt. And that's my whole year in university. Nearly every single one, say about 100 graduates, 120 graduates, probably about 105 of them are all stuck in a debt cycle that I look at and I think, how are you going to get out of this? If something goes a bit, just a little bit off, we're so dependent and conditioned that everything's going to be stable, everything's going to be fine, that even a small wobbly, spanner in the works like this COVID-19, people aren't even prepared for it at all,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that being prepared is having a little like a little farm somewhere with your sort of shotguns and 3 years of food. I'm talking more as, okay, you've got 4 mortgages to pay. Why the hell do you have 4 mortgages to pay? Who advised you that was a good idea at some point? And the banks are like doing that. They'll say the times are good, you're owning 100, 200k plus. Okay, what you can afford to take on a full mortgage? No, you can't.
Yeah. It's just, as we grow in a society, we've become more in terms of consuming goods. And don't get me wrong, people are now, basically killing me because I have 2 luxury vehicles. And it's like, yeah, but you know what? That's only maybe 10% of my net worth. Let's put this into context, right? When I was working full time in corporate, in my corporate world, and I was earning 100k a year working corporate, I was driving a Ford Edge. Literally, I have a Ford Edge. I actually I still have it, and it's got a big dent on the side of it because I never got it fixed. I should have got it fixed. I just let it sit there. But it's just that car for me was 30,000. I bought it, in 2013, 2012, it was $30,000. And I never bought a luxury vehicle. I could have had a luxury vehicle. I could have bought myself a Mercedes or a Lexus or a BMW, but it didn't make sense to me. Why was I putting that much money into a vehicle when I really wasn't having the income to support that? And that was just my thought process, where I was looking at the first thing I always wanted to do was secure myself a property and have a house or have something that I live in, because worst case scenario, if you have to borrow off of it, you can, if you have equity in it, but you also have a place to live to call your own. And now you're sort of established, right? I wasn't looking at saying, hey, I need a car first. It was always, I need a place to live first, right? So I mean, it's all relative, but it's just more of understand that a lot of the things that drive your needs and wants are based on the conditions that you have or that you're living in, and a lot of it can be adjusted. And like I said, I don't mean not to have fun and not to enjoy yourself, but just be a little bit more conscious the way that you put money towards things, and what are your driving factors on the reason why you're spending that money. That's all.
I have a little interesting view on even purchasing property. So everything I buy, if it's a big investment or whatever, I always try to buy under the market price. Mm-hmm. So if it's a car and it's on the showroom, because as soon as you take it out of the,
of course, depreciation.
Yeah, depreciation, right? But so anything like that, the only one thing that I would pay above market rate for is the house that I live in. Because that's the place where my children are going to be, and they need to go to school, and they need to be safe. Everything else on the planet, you know, whatever I buy, and I got this really, this came to me really from trading, because if you're going to put a buy in, and I never buy at market rate, because I think I'll always get screwed over. I always try to buy it as the best rate that I can get. You know, trading cryptos mainly, it kind of gave me this. And so except for the house that I live in, everything else, I couldn't care less. You know, I'll try to get the best deal for it I can. The house you live in, because it's your family's there, it's your security, your safety, and all your education and all that kind of stuff that comes in, you can pay above the market rate just to secure it, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's exactly what you should be doing. I mean, but it's just like I said, I mean, you know, I don't ever want people to get offended when we're talking about these situations, because these are just sort of theories. They're just, you know, open forum dialogues. You don't have to agree with these approaches, and I don't expect everybody to agree. But the great thing about a discussion is you can open your eyes to other people's views on things, and then you can make choices. And I mean, I look at the YouTube comments, and I mean, you know, like, I'm not going to say no offense because it's going to offend people, but a lot of the comments are ignorant. Whereas, you know, you're here to educate, to learn, to see different viewpoints. You should never be upset with someone else's viewpoint. You should either A, ignore it, or B, just move on. Like, I don't really care about a lot of people's viewpoints, and I don't get upset with them. I just sort of be like, okay, great, you agree, that's your view, I'm happy for you, right? I don't turn around and try and prove to somebody that they're wrong, or prove that I'm right. Like, you can't do that to people. You can't switch people's opinions. We're not here in a debate. Like, we're not trying to persuade people. It's more of like, you can agree with this idea or you cannot agree, but there's no point of, you know, sitting there criticizing for 10 minutes or doing something. Like, just say, I don't agree, and carry on your day. Like, I mean, we're internet friends, I guess, so to speak. Like,
or you can
people
disagree.
Yeah,
you can disagree, but you'll probably have a valid point to put across, right?
Right.
It's about opinion.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, that's what I look at. It's like, you know, there's 1,700 people in the chat room, and, you know, like 100 people disagree with me. It's like, trust me, we're not meeting at McDonald's today to debate this. You know, just go about your day. You're just going to stress yourself out.
I'll be fine later. Yeah.
Exactly.
We're on war zone.
Yeah. No, that's what it comes down to, right? Like, people,
exactly that.
People DM me and they'll debate with me for 30 minutes. I'm like,
man, really?
I mean, I'm okay with that. Like, if you want to win with me today.
Ted, what do you think about? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
So when T talks, we just all shut up. Yeah. It's fine. You go on, T. You're good.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, have you seen gold and how
it
developed?
Yeah, we're watching it right now.
Yeah,
I was watching it, just sort of pulled up a bit more. So, I think right now, initially, a good target right now with gold is 1705, 1704. We should tap there and then continue. And then looking at the higher time frame, maybe 1705.
17,
probably. Next one, 1710, 1712. Yeah.
Yeah. I jumped in at 9908.
Oh, you sneaky boy.
You know what I'm saying? I was watching the 5, to be honest with you. I was just seeing, and it had no top wick, and the way it's pushing, I was like, right, I've got a wick to fill. I went with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's nice, man. When everyone can make money together, that's good.
Yeah, man. I was just waiting for T signal. That's
yeah.
We need to get to your radio station, man. I would.
What do you mean, bro? A radio station?
Yeah, a whole radio station, bro. You can have all your program all day long, whatever you're thinking, man. We'll be listening to it.
Nah, I'm not that interested, man.
I did a podcast yesterday with the Trading Addict or something like that, and it was literally 2 hours. And afterwards, Roy says to me, he says, Ted, can we do another one? He says, I think 2 hours is going to be too long for people. I said, yeah. I said, the questions you asked, I mean, I went into such detail. I have to stop doing that, but I've just recently started doing podcasts and interviews and things like that because people are asking me to do them. So when they ask me a question, the questions are so open-ended, and you want to explain the full context. I mean, it goes on for like this podcast was 2 hours, and then he wants to do a part 2.
There's
and
2
it's
questions.
like, yeah, like we went through like 4 questions. Each question was like 30 minutes in the answer, right? But it's just interesting perspective. So I mean, when people talk about like radio and doing podcasts and things like that, there's a good trader, good poker player. His name is Joe Ingram. It's Joe Joe, and Ingram is spelled INGram. He's on YouTube, and he did podcast styles on YouTube, like interviews with all the top poker players, and it was actually really good to watch. So I was almost thinking of doing something like that and just interviewing, particular traders and stuff like that, because the difference was because Joe is actually a really good player, poker player, but he also has a lot of really good friends that are good poker players. So the conversations are they're more anecdotal, in the sense that, like, if I was to interview Rakeel, I'd probably ask him questions that nobody else would ask him, because I trade a certain style and I understand what he's doing, but then I can get more of a technical, or getting more in depth. So I thought about that the other day, like yesterday after I finished the podcast, is it might be an opportunity for me to do that, where we do like a video chat or something like that, where you get a little bit more in depth with trading, because you have someone that is trading at a certain level, but then finds other people that are trading at that level, if that makes sense. They're not like going to be basic questions where it's like, so if you have like a risk to reward, what do you do here? It's like, it would be like, hey, what do you do when you get stuck in this situation, and you've done this for the week, right? Like what are the, like, more of a conversation there, right?
That'd be pretty interesting. That. Yeah. A lot of good views. I'm sure people will find that really interesting, actually.
Yeah, because I mean, then you have like a trader, like who's been successful trading. Not to say that these podcasts aren't of value, but they ask questions to help sort of the generic trader, right? Like, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to promote to all audiences, where this would be more of like a high level, like if you really wanted to get into the nitty gritty of trading, similar to what Joe does with poker players, is he'll talk about like game theory, and you'll sit there and you'll be like, wow, that's really interesting, because the person that he's asking the question to understands what they're trying to get at, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's a cool concept.
Yeah.
I like that. I bet there'll be loads of people interested in that, because it'd be like a different level, like you said.
Right. Yeah, it'd be, it's a conversation, but you get a lot of more information from that, so to speak, right? And also too, maybe I would pick guests that I found more interesting, or that maybe people don't really know about, or something like that, right?
Yeah. Quiet ones.
So, I mean, it was just something I was thinking about. I mean, I'm going to see what I can do. I mean, it's just, I always take on all these other projects, and then I get held up with them. So once these projects slow down, then, I might look at it, doing something like that.
This is what quarantine does to you.
Think about the book, man. Think about the book.
Yeah, I have, you know what, you can write a book pretty quick, because there's ghostwriters out there that do stuff like that. People ask me to write a book. I would rather do a movie, actually, to be honest.
Easy,
like
that would be amazing. Something like
a Netflix documentary, right? Like I'd like to do that. But see, the thing is, with a Netflix documentary, you have to have like a camera crew follow you for a year. So I'd almost have to start that, say like, say today, and then record it for a year, and then have that released next year. So it would be like a year. Like yesterday I watched the final year, which was Obama's last year of his presidency, and sort of where they go, and then they had certain people that they followed and interviewed. That's sort of the documentary style that I would do, would be, like if we're going to do sort of like Life of Ted, like what does Ted do on a daily basis, but who are the key people in Ted's world that he communicates with or does things with, right? Like this would be like part of the documentary, like we'd be on a YouTube
stream. That'd be nice.
You're dying that this film, I'm not so sure it'd be a good one, because the film, it literally be Groundhog Day. Because they'd be like,
I got you.
Wake up early, make a few trades, chill out, TikTok for a few hours, maybe a few phone calls, Ellen, and then Call of Duty, bed. Yeah, it will be very interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's some days where I actually do stuff, but it's just like
I'm sure it actually would be pretty interesting. Like, it's all seriousness. It's them type of things I find like proper documentaries about proper stuff. I do like that stuff. Like that Formula One, but a lot of people have seen that. That's really interesting. Coming from that background and knowing it anyway, it's a really good vision for people that have never seen that type of stuff or don't understand it. It's really similar to what it is, how it's perceived on that. It's very good.
Yeah,
but yeah, I enjoy watching that. Ted the Forex King.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
All right, today we're gonna learn how to trade, and this trade's gonna financially ruin me. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm buying support. I'm selling resistance.
Oh man, it's fun. It's been a really nice Friday.
See, it would be good though, because like you said, if it was over a year, just think of some of the good things you're doing here, like when we were going to go to Miami and stuff. Them type of events and stuff in the documentary would be really funny.
Be, right?
It would be
things
good.
like that too.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Not a trip to Vegas, you know.
Yeah.
Vegas is fun.
Tin Man, what's up, man?
What up, man?
Yeah, I was excited to meet you in Miami, but like all this shit happened, so yeah.
Same, man. I was still gutted about that. I built up so much to get on a plane as well. It took me a long time to get myself up to the point of like, yes, I'll do it. And it's like, no, I can't go.
GJ is so GJ is one of them pairs, right? Where even if all of you guys was in a buy, Rakeel, Ted, Monty, Kerwin, if you guys are all in a buy and I was like, right, I'm gonna join buys as well, it would go down.
Well, the thing is,
I wasn't that convinced to take buys.
Yeah, well, that's what we talked about earlier with GJ. Was we were talking about the zone that we're in on the daily, and that we hadn't actually left that zone. And this is funny. The example that I gave was we could return back into that zone, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a sell. It'll just drop for a bit and then it'll pull back instantly, right? So we're whipsawing.
It's exactly what we said earlier. Yeah. It's identical.
Yeah, it's scary that it actually did happen that way, because I'm watching it right now, and it literally tapped into my blue zone again as it broke out. This new like this new hour candle, it just dropped right back into it.
Yep. Very, very, very. Yeah. It's amazing that when you can see stuff like that, and then this is like I said about understanding your position in the market and waiting your time and not having to try and get in at the start.
Yeah, I think that was
coming.
That was one of the things that in the last 2 years, like in 2019, just because you and I were really talking about like euro pound and also gold.
Yep.
It was the one thing that I learned. Like if I could take anything from 2019, the biggest lesson I learned in 2019 of trading was just because the market's moving in the direction that you wanted doesn't necessarily mean that there's a trade to be taken. That you just have to, you just have to let that position or let the market do its thing, and you have to find your entry afterwards. You know, years before that, like 2017, 2016, I was always trying to figure out a way to enter the market when the market was moving where I thought it was supposed to move. And 2019 was a realization for me, is that I have to let go of that attitude that I need to be in the market because this is what I did the analysis on. Because what it comes down to is you may have the perfect analysis, but there just might not be an entry available for you. And you have to let go of that idea that, well, because I thought gold was going up, I need to find a buy position. And it's like, there's maybe no retest. Maybe the hour candle shoots up 40 pips and we've missed the whole entire move. Like that was the biggest realization in 2019, was I don't have to take that trade. All I look at now is, I was right in my analysis, but the market did not let me take an entry. So if I'm going to try and find an entry, I have to look back a little bit further and say, well, how could I figure that out? And there's some instances where I was asleep during London session. You know, I didn't take a trade during the Asian session to get in, and that was your entry, things of that nature. So that was the biggest eye opener for 2019, was just the idea of letting your analysis go and letting it play out and being satisfied that it was right, but just you couldn't find an entry.
Yeah, because you can get to that point now where well, for me, I can see, okay, this is potentially where it could happen around now, for example. And then if that may then, for me, show that it could potentially happen in early Asian or something, I may stay up especially for that, because like you said, you could miss that opportunity. Like now we're looking for more specifics. So it's, you know, I've changed a few things my end about that, and it's paid off, because some of the consistency has been completely different. Well, a lot better in some cases. I'm sure I did all right before, but some of the entries I've got now are a lot better entries, safer, and they've been a lot more profitable. So it's all quickly into profit, should we say? So, and into a bigger zone or something, which has given me a lot better return. So yeah, it's good. All progression, man. It's decent.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just one of those things. So I mean, that's the one thing that I've learned, and because I learned that last year, that's what I'm sort of preaching this year to people. Is, you know, I took that experience or that note from my own trading, and I'm passing it on to other people, because I realized that a lot of people were doing the exact same thing that I was doing, and I just recognized that it wasn't advantageous. Like I had to learn to just let trades go, and just accept the fact that I missed the move, right? Like the other day with gold, I missed the whole move from like 1730 all the way up to 1740, whatever, right? You have to accept that. You have to just let it go, right? Like things of that nature. So I think as a trader, if you do that more often, you're going to put yourself in a better frame of mind, but your positions that you're going to take, they're going to be highly profitable because of the fact that you didn't chase, or you didn't say you had to take a trade because of the fact that you had the analysis. Like, just chalk up the analysis to the fact that you were right, and now look for an opportunity again next time, because there were so many opportunities last year. When I review all my trades from last year, when I review my trades from this year, like there were huge opportunities, and I feel better because I caught a lot of those opportunities, but I also don't feel any sort of emptiness because I missed trading gold last week, right? Like it doesn't bother me.
Well, that's the point. Now we have a bit of a banter about it now, don't we? It's that type of thing. So, you missed it. Oh well, never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So someone got it, but it's like,
exactly.
It's one of them.
You just deal with it, and that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it. But the thing is, I think for me, because I was so concentrating on getting a specific, and I would maybe like I've missed it. I'd be a bit disappointed that I've missed it, and they'd be like, I can't believe I missed that. I've been planning that all week or this coming month or whatever. But then now there's still so many more opportunities. Like maybe tomorrow, it kind of opens your eyes up to more opportunities, especially when you're doing this stream and stuff now as well. There's so much you can, there's a couple of days this week where I've not taken a trade full stop, but we can plan stuff, this, that, and the other, and then it plays out in a couple of days, for example. And it's like, perfect, there you go. That's the one we're waiting for, that gold one yesterday, for example, and on Tuesday. Yeah, it's nice. But it's that longer term play that I've got to work on. Just got to work on that a bit more.
I found very difficult when I was watching the streams from January was I'd kind of mastered a particular setup, which was kind of like a break of an area, and then a retest, right? And because I wasn't used to seeing how GJ actually moved, once it was gone, I'd sit there for like 2 hours, 3 hours, and I missed the trade. And then the rest of the time, and then I'd do that like in a week, maybe twice it'll happen, right? My concentration's gone or whatever. Then as time built up, then there's other setups I picked up. So if that one's gone, I don't get the FOMO now to jump in because I know there's another way to get into that trade. If you wait for something else to happen, it'll support to form or break below the low or below the high, above the high kind of thing. So where your sort of arsenal builds up, it kind of helps calm your nerves down again as well. Do you know what I mean?
I think it comes down to understanding the dynamic of the chart as well. That type of stuff. Like you said, with GJ, sometimes it will break out and there won't be no retest. It's done. Like this morning on that sell, that was kind of pretty quick. Once that broke on a 15-minute, it didn't come back anywhere near where it broke support. It was gone and gone. That was it.
So I have a question here. It's a non-trading related question. I don't know if someone can help me here or not. But so far, we've raised around $1,000 from the charity yesterday,
Nice.
and I'm looking to get so I have a list of food items I have to buy. What would be the best place to go buy food in bulk except Costco?
Asian supermarket.
Are you trying to buy food, or you're trying to donate food?
Buy food and then donate it and kind of like document it.
Okay, so when I donate to the food bank, you can do two things. You can actually write them a check, and that you can bring it into the food bank and they'll accept that. Buying food in bulk, I think if you go to a cash and carry, that works. But I usually just literally go to Walmart, because Walmart has the best prices, and especially when you're buying canned items, like you're buying non-perishable foods, right?
Yeah.
So what you do. The other thing is, and if you speak to the food bank, they also give you suggestions on how to purchase the foods, like what foods that they need. So if you speak to them first, like I speak to the Toronto Food Bank all the time, like, because once a year I do the donation and stuff like that. So I always speak to them first to see what they're low on, and then they sort of give you that idea of like what they want, and then they look at you weird because like you're gonna have a whole truckload of food. Like, trust me, $1,000. No, a whole $1,000 does buy a lot of food, like canned goods and stuff, because each can is literally like 69 cents, 79 cents. So you come in and the guy's looking at you going. Like, I remember when I brought I had on my Tesla, I brought it like the whole, because it's a hatchback, it was full. The guy's like, what the hell is this? I'm like, I don't know. I just, this is the food, right?
Yeah.
So it's you don't realize how much food $1,000 can buy. Like I did, like when I did my donations last year, like it was like, I was like, wow, this is a lot of food, right?
Well, considering you go and buy a weekly shop or however long, how much you spend on that?
Because
How much $1,000
you spend on a weekly average, I spend like maybe $70-$80 on food for my house and stuff like that. So then when I buy like 10 or 20 times that, you start to look and you're like, holy cow, like this is a lot of food. Like,
like we still have around 8 hours left. So if it crosses like 1,500, probably gonna buy food with half of it and write a check for the rest half of it. Because it's going to be a pain in the ass to get all that food in.
It'd be
it looks good for the gram,
yeah, it looks good for the gram too.
Can you imagine that? Just pump up them arms, just get them arms pumped with about 10 bags.
You know what's good, Rakeel, is you've been going gym.
Yep.
So even if it gets to $2,000, you can carry all them shopping bags at once. You don't have to do one at a time. Yeah?
One time.
All at the same time. Get
10 in each hand.
I'm just going to make a point. I mean, some places have got restrictions on what you can buy, though, Rakeel.
Yeah.
So
I do here, yeah.
Yeah. So over here, some of the places, like, if you were to go into a supermarket or whatever, because they've got restrictions and stuff still, you might not be able to get £1,000 worth of stuff. So
that's true too, yeah.
Rakeel, if you go anywhere and they tell you can't buy the food, just take a picture of the face and send it to me. I'll sort it. Don't worry.
You told them you can't buy food for the needy. Are you stupid?
What?
This is the stimulus package for you guys. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. No, I'm going to call the food bank first. I'm going to ask for their suggestion. Where do they prefer,
I mean, I think your healthcare's quite good over in Canada. So sometimes even the hospitals here have been short of like pillows and toothbrushes and toothpaste and things. I'm not sure how your guys' system's not too bad, but if the local hospital is a bit short on certain supplies, you could also hand those in. Because with a lot of the COVID people, like they're ill, they put them on their front as well. So they need pillows. They might be short on pillows and stuff. So pillows and things.
The opposite end of that argument is, man, any charity is going to be very happy for what you do. Like you can like when I choose charities, like the only thing that I look at now is, you know, I donate to the food bank. I mean, I could donate to the animal shelter. You could donate everywhere. Like, you could go insane donating. Like, I looked at that and I was like, you know, when I start donating more and I build a foundation, it's like, you really just need to focus on one charity. It sounds bad, but you can't give to everybody. Like, there's thousands of charities out there, and you just really figure out one that's close to your, like, what feeds you as your soul. Like, I mean, for me, I always think that it's important that people eat well. So that's why I donate to the food bank, because I think eating really helps your body overall. You know, the better you eat, the better you're able to function, the more you're able to do, so the better person you become. Like, that's how I figured out how to donate to the food bank. You know, that was sort of my whole philosophy behind that. But, you know, some people want to donate to the animal shelter and stuff like that. It's just like, you could go on, and you just have to be sort of, you know, just really understand why you're doing what you're doing. And then that helps you where you make donations. And that's the reason why I donate to the food bank heavily. They know me as the guy with the Tesla, because they're like, what do you do? How do you do this? I'm like, you know, like, because I go in there randomly, right? Like, I'll just go and donate randomly.
I just pop it. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So they know me because of that, and it's just, you know, they always ask me what I do, and I just sort of say, you know, like, you know, I'm in finance and stuff, you know. So I just don't want the notoriety, because that's what they keep saying. They're like, well, we can post this, we can, you know, we can, you know, really, you know, not do promotion, but, you know, we'd like to thank you publicly and stuff. I'm like, nah, I don't need that.
Nah, that's it. Way ain't about that, is it?
Yeah.
Don't do that type of stuff for the clout, do you?
Ted, I just posted in the chat, like, we got to work on your answers for your interview. Like, you gave a good answer, then you just kept on going some more, so I know what that guy was talking about.
Oh, listen to it, yeah. I love to have a listen.
I like being concise.
I've been thorough.
That's I know. So why can't he edit the interview in like a 4-part, and that's better for him also?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's what he was trying. Maybe the way it was set up, or otherwise. But I mean,
free the Tiger King.
Yeah.
We can donate to his bond or whatever.
Wow.
Free George.
Did you see they have a new episode out on Netflix? I watched it last night.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
Who's it on? Carol Baskin?
They did an interview with all the main characters. Like, where are they now, so to speak?
Oh.
Yeah. So if you watch it on Netflix, it's there. It's actually really cool.
I'll watch it.
Why did he get sent to prison? What happened with him?
Because he was trying to kill Carol.
He got sent in prison for that haircut.
Well, basically, a bunch of people owned different tiger sanctuaries, and there's this woman, she owned it as well, and she didn't like the men, so she basically, yeah, that's what happened. That was an ego thing, I think.
Oh, so what did she do, Rakeel?
Basically, this guy is basically like, he's not correct all there, so like, you know, he would make videos on that Carol Baskin, she's trying to shut me down and this and that, and then he went on the wild escapade of, yeah, she needs to be put down and this and that, and then at one point he was actually hired someone to kill her, and this whole investigation started in him and all his associates, and it all just came down for him. Poor guy.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah.
So because he wanted his wife to get killed, he's in prison now?
No, Carol Baskin was a competitor.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It was funny because Carol Baskin was doing the exact same thing, and she wasn't even paying her employees. I mean, not that this guy was paying his employees any better, but man, like, she was literally doing the exact same thing, and I sort of agreed with him, because I'm like, what's the difference what she's doing? Oh, this is a sanctuary. She just named it different. It's still a zoo. It just goes to show you, the crazier you are, the less you're taken, less you're taken seriously.
Oh yeah. Carol Baskin, big cat rescue.
Hey, all you cats and kittens.
Yeah, hello, you all cats and kittens.
She looks crazy, man.
No, she's creepy.
Hi, I'm Carol Baskin from Big Cat Rescue. It's April.
Well, I think I'd put him in prison for that haircut, mate. You know?
Yeah, apparently the rumors are that her first husband was really rich, but he was really old too. So the rumors are that she fed him to the tigers so that there's no evidence that he died.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah, and this is her second husband now.
I'm going to jail.
She's ruthless.
Is there any like proof that substantiates those claims? Or
I'm pretty
Well,
sure
it was because she turned around in one episode and she says you would never put like if you wanted someone to kill, like if you wanted a cat to kill you, you would put like sardine sauce on their shoes, not perfume. And everyone took that. They're like, how the hell do you know that?
That's mad.
How would you even research that?
Yeah, but that's when people are saying she killed her husband. It's like that's how she probably killed her husband, because the cat got the sardine sauce on her husband's shoes, and then the cat just ate the guy.
No way. It's like that film Snatch. You seen that where he says never trust a man that owns pigs. That type of thing.
Yeah. Oh man, but it's so funny though, because when you look at that documentary and you watch Tiger Kings, you get such a spectrum of the world that you realize how sheltered you are. Like when I watched that, I watched it, obviously the characters were interesting and sort of the whole idea, but you watch it and you realize like how much you don't know about the world. Because that's a whole industry in itself. Those people were attacking each other every day. Like you figure there's trolls in FX, trolls on IG. There's trolls everywhere. Every industry has trolls. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah, because I was watching it and I was comparing it to the trolling done on Instagram, within the Forex industry. I was like, this is wild.
Yeah, like these guys made videos about each other, right? Like we don't even do that. Like, could you imagine?
Oh, that's next level. That's serious.
We're trading with Ted and Rakeel today. God damn it, these Instagram traders! We're just gonna take a gun and shoot them all. We're doing trading with Ted, and I got my guest Rakeel. Wicks don't lie on here. Ricks, what are you doing about the Instagram community? Everybody's coming after us. What do we gotta do? Oh yeah, I think we gotta bomb them all.
So you know.
Yeah, so you know.
What you got?
Go. Guys, I'm off. I'll see you next week. Stay safe.
Have a good weekend.
All
Take
right.
care, guys.
Take care. Have fun.
So this Joe Exotic guy has a YouTube.
Yeah, this was his show right here.
Yeah. You should see those videos. I've watched some of
But
them.
anyway,
I went down the rabbit hole the other night.
How about
man, I was on there for like 3 hours.
You want to see what I go through
What is
in a
that,
day?
So how do you... I'm confused, man. This is crazy.
1 sec. Let me turn on the volume here. How do you turn on the volume, man? Because he's like, this video starts off with, let me explain what I go through every day now. Yeah, how do you turn it on?
That's a bit where it says share computer sound at the top.
Oh, hold on. Share, new share. Shared computer sound.
Trying to be nice.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
And let people live on this property for free. Now it's John Finley's problem.
That are graphic in nature. Services. You want to play? Let's play. Before you bullshit online the other day of throwing me in your crap on Facebook. I have done nothing to you. No.
He's confronting the troll in person.
Did he just like drive to a house?
Yeah. His whole thing is like this. His entire videos. In some of the videos, he puts up a mannequin and he puts Carol Baskin's head on it and he shoots it. He's like, that's Carol Baskin.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, I just want to kill Carol Baskin. I've had enough of her shit.
Oh, wow. And document on video.
Hi,
real clever.
I'm Joseph Maldonado Passage. Most of you probably know me as Joe Exotic. And I'm running for governor here in the state of Oklahoma for 2018.
Governor?
I'd like to talk to you about a very important
This is serious.
That you come up for vote. You, the people, will decide. And one in the hospital in complete organ failure. And one of the things that saved me and brought and looking in the faces of children that are dying from cancer
and leukemia and many other.
Man, this dude had a 3-way marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I've got to watch this, man. This sounds like time I could do.
Oh, you haven't watched it?
No, yeah, you can binge watch
you
this
have-
in one night. Yeah, you just
Yeah, you have
watch
to.
in one night. You have to
I
watch
spent
it.
like 7 hours watching
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I literally watched it the entire night. I started at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I watched it all the way to like 2 in the morning. I watched everything.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
It just kept getting better and better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it.
All right, guys, I'm gonna head off here.
All right.
We had a fun,
Still got a
fun
back
Friday.
going on.
Hey,
Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, have a good one.
have a nice weekend, everybody.
Yeah, man. You too.
See you guys.